Senator Kamala Harris' dismal debate performance against Vice President Pence, a bunch of progressives, including Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez squad, released their own vision for America. They're calling it the blueprint for what they expect out of a Biden-Harris administration, or actually a Harris-Biden administration. Now, the Green New Deal's right at the top of this baby. When it was first announced, Kamala Harris was the first Senate co-sponsor. But now that she's on the ticket with plugs, she's pretending that never happened. Still, despite their denials, the environmentalist wacko plan that Plugs and Kamala are pushing is the Green New Deal, even if they're not calling it that. But the squad wants more from Harris, Biden, Harris. In addition to free health care for everybody, universal child care, wiping out all student debt, wiping all rear ends. These leftists have their own COVID-19 plan that they expect Biden and Harris to embrace. They want to cancel rent and ban any foreclosures while a pandemic is still going on. They demand retroactive hazard pay for essential workers like prostitutes. And they want the extra $600 in federal unemployment benefits to continue as far as the eye can see. Bottom line, these people want to give away all they can. They want to kill the economy, bankrupt the country, which is right in line with what Joe Biden and Kamala Harris are already promising to do. Good grief. Greetings to you, music lovers, thrill seekers, and conversationalists all across the fruited plain. Welcome to the Rush Limbaugh program. Mr. President, it is a distinct honor and privilege to have you with us, and I want you to do something for me, sir.
Go ahead.
I want you to imagine you have just landed in a gleaming, majestic Air Force One to the largest radio rally in history. Instead of thousands cheering as you walk up to the stage, there are millions and millions of patriots out there right now anxiously awaiting to hear from you. No doubt they're waving Trump flags, wearing their bright red MAGA hats proudly. This, sir, is a MAGA rally, and we are all thrilled to be with you today. We are so glad you're doing better, and welcome to the EIB Network.
Well, I want to thank you, Rush. You're a fantastic man, a friend of mine, but before I really even knew you as a friend, you were like a supporter. And I said, I know that guy, he's got a big audience, but I never even knew the importance of what you do and what you say, and now I do very well. And it keeps us all in the game. And we just got great polls out of, you probably heard, out of Arizona. We're getting them out of Nevada, you know, the real polls, not the fake polls. We're getting them out of North Carolina, looking really good. I think Pennsylvania's looking good. Florida's looking great. It's all a big phony deal they have going, Rush, and we're going to win this. I think it's going to be a bigger win than we had 4 years ago.
Oh, that would be great. I have, Mr. President,
great polls.
I have to tell you, from the moment that your appearance was announced, we've received. We've never had a response like this, sir. I'm in my 32nd year. We have never had a response like we had thousands and thousands of questions and comments for you. You are. I hope you know how deeply loved you are by so many Americans who have invested their hopes and prayers for this country in you. They want to see you in the White House for 4 more years. And I'll tell you what I want. I want them to get to know you as I do. I want them to know the Donald Trump that I know. You are one of the strongest, the most unwavering, the most determined, loyal people I've ever met. But you care deeply about the country. You care about everybody, and it's just a breathtaking thing. The difference in you as portrayed in the media and who you really are is breathtaking. And today, I want people to get to know the Donald Trump that I know.
Well, I appreciate it. And, you know, when you suggested this, I immediately jumped on it because your audience is the biggest. I mean, it's just incredible. And we have some great friends in Sean Hannity and so many others, and, you know, Mark, and so many people are so great to us. But we have so many people that are so untruthful. And the biggest thing, and the one thing I haven't figured out is why. If we say we're going to create a strong military and protect, we're going to create a strong economy like we've never had an economy prior to the plague, and now we're building it up again stronger than before. Watch, it's going to be stronger than before. We're almost at record stock market. Nobody can believe that. We're rounding the turn on the pandemic, and I'll have something to say about that because I'm telling you, we have a cure, more than just a therapeutic. We have a cure. But so many things that we've done, and you know, no matter what you do, they try and find fault, and not only fault, vicious. They're vicious people. And you say, why wouldn't they want to have good education, a good military, a strong economy, safety, security? Why would they want to live like they live in Portland, and where they just allow these agitators and anarchists to run the streets? Why would they want that? That's the only thing I haven't figured out. Why would they? And why would these big companies like Comcast? I call it Comcast. It's Comcast, but I call it Comcast because it's a con job. That's NBC mostly. But if you look at that, or CNN, which is so pathetic, why would they do that? Why would they want to have a country that's in turmoil? Because they create it. The fake news is the worst thing we have going. You know, the lamestream, I call it the lamestream media. But you'd think that they'd want to see great education, great country, great security, strong military.
They don't want to see you responsible for it. They don't.
It's a crazy thing, Rush. It's the one thing I've never quite figured it out, you know, and they become less wealthy. You know, to a large extent, they become less wealthy. They're willing to give up their wealth in order to see the country go to hell. Someday when you figure that out, you're going to let me know. Okay?
I'll tell you today. I know exactly what this is. But before, you know, we've got a lot of questions for you from members of the audience. And before we dive into those, you know, I need to ask you something that I've not really had a chance to ask you prior. Before you did this, before 2015, when you came down the escalator and announced your candidate, you had a storybook life. You had an absolutely fabulous life. You had a life that anybody would aspire to. You were very successful. You were happy. You were a media darling. They loved you back then. Why did you decide to run for president and put up with the day in and day out maligning that you get? Because you did not have to do this.
I'll tell you, it's such a great question. And I do it again, even though it's far worse. I never thought I'd be involved with a Russia hoax or a Ukraine hoax or be impeached because I made a phone call congratulating somebody that I never met to or spoke to on becoming the president of Ukraine, and all of a sudden you get impeached, and it was a perfect phone call. You know, a letter that we actually, fortunately, we had it transcribed because they made up the phone call. They said it was totally different. Fortunately, or maybe I wouldn't be talking to you right now in this capacity at least. Fortunately, we had it transcribed. It was transcribed, the exact call. If we didn't, they would have, you know what Schiff said. He said it before Congress. He repeated my call. It had no bearing on what I said. It was a perfect phone call, and I got impeached over it. I never knew it would be so unpleasant, but nobody has done more in the last 3.5 years as president in the first 3.5 years that I have. Nobody. I mean, if you look at rebuilding the military and the economy and the best employment numbers we've ever had, and we've cut regulations to a point that's so incredible nobody's ever seen. If you look at the Veterans' Choice in the VA, accountability. You know, we had people in the VA that would beat up our veterans and beat them up badly. You know, they're infirm, they're not well, they're not feeling well, and you had these animals in there that would beat them up. We couldn't do anything about them. Now, with accountability, you have to account, and we fire them, and worse, we get rid of them. And our vets have a 91% approval rating, the highest we've ever had in the VA. You don't hear those bad stories about the VA anymore like you used to. And now they get immediate doctor attention if they have to wait online. I mean, but that's so many different things. Right to try, where they can try medicines. And I mean, I can sort of give you an example of that with the COVID, because I was in not great shape, and we have a medicine that healed me, that fixed me. It's a great medicine. And had I not gotten it, Rush, it would have been in line for another year probably before they brought it out. Great company, two great companies actually make it, to make very similar things, but they both work equally well. And we're going to send it. We're already sending it. It's starting. The process is hundreds of thousands of vials are being sent to the hospitals all over the country. People are going to get immediately better, like I did. I mean, I feel better now than I did 2 weeks ago. It's crazy. And I recovered immediately, almost immediately. I might not have recovered at all from COVID. To me, it's the biggest story. But the press doesn't even want to report that. They talk about the vaccines, and the vaccines are very important, Dresh. But this is more important because we can go into hospitals and clean out the hospitals, literally, with people that the vaccines are very important. It's a different stage.
Well, yeah, this is the antibodies that you've speeding up.
This is the antibody, and Regeneron. It's the most unbelievable thing I've ever seen. And I had a meeting with doctors today. It's always the good thing about when you're president, 11 doctors show up, and they're all the head of Johns Hopkins and this and that. They're great people. But Walter Reed is an incredible place. And these 11 guys came in today. They showed me stats. It's amazing. I don't know that I was not in the greatest of shape. A day later, I was fine, maybe perfect, but I was fine. But a couple of days later, and now I'm free. I feel perfect. I'm not taking anything. I'm off any regimen that they gave me. But it was primarily this one drug. And we're sending that and the Eli Lilly version of it, which is very similar. We're sending that to all of our hospitals. We're going to get people better. We got to get it there fast. That's why I'm doing an emergency use authorization. I got to get them to approve it really fast. But I gave them my numbers to put in with the other numbers that they already have, which are very good, excellent. And it's the most amazing thing. And it's not remdesivir. Maybe that helps a little bit, but remdesivir is from not the same thing. This is stuff that is so good. It just wiped out the virus. It wiped it out.
Well, I'll tell you, we're so happy that you're...
Such a big story to me.
It was scary when we heard that you had tested positive, given your demographics. You were right there in the number one target area for people that have trouble with this, and it's so you sound great. I've been reading that you got a hacking cough and that your voice is hoarse and you sound perfectly normal to me.
Well, there's always that little that little lingering thing for a couple of days, but no, I have my voice is now perfect. I mean, for a couple of days, it's called the lingering thing. If you have hay fever, if you have something, you have that too, a little bit. But no, this is the most amazing thing that's happened. And I was asking the doctors today, 11 guys, great people, the heads of the biggest hospitals. It's amazing. I guess the president has a lot of power, but everybody shows up. What do you do? I'm the head of Johns Hopkins, or I'm the head of stuff. It's always like, but they're very brilliant people. And I said, how bad was I? They said, you could have been very bad. You were going into a very bad phase. And so it wasn't like it was just going to, like with the kids, where they get it and they get sniffles and they're better 2 days later, right? This looks like it was going to be a big deal. And you know what that means, right? That means bad, because I've lost 5 people, at least 5 people that were friends of mine. One in particular, like an incredible guy who went into the hospital. He was dead within 3 days. And I'm just saying that we have something that will cure this now, and a cure. And without Trump administration, this would never have happened. We poured money into these cures, and we poured money into the vaccines. And the vaccines are coming along great, Rush. I mean, the vaccines, Johnson & Johnson, Moderna, Pfizer, they're all coming along great. A little bit political. They're afraid it's going to go too fast, and I'll get credit for it before the election.
Well, that's another thing I wanted to... Mr. President, you have been forced, because of media coverage, to tout your own successes. You have been forced to tell, like you just did in the past 5 minutes here. And it rubs some people the wrong way. They think you're bragging. They think that you're insecure, that you need to constantly. Would you explain to people why you find it necessary to tout your successes rather than let somebody in the White House or a PR-type operation do it for you? Why do you find it necessary to do yourself?
Well, first of all, it's such a great question, and most people can't understand it. As an example, I was nominated for 2 Nobel Peace Prizes.
Three now. Some guy from Italy has nominated you.
Oh, that's good. Well, it won't be written about. When Obama got it, it was the biggest story. I remember very well. He didn't even know why he got it. Got it almost.
And he got his on the come. He got his on the come. He hadn't even done anything yet.
That's right. He didn't know. He couldn't explain why he got it, but I can. And one is Middle East peace without any blood. Okay. And by the way, countries are lining up. The other is, if you look at Kosovo and Serbia, they've been killing each other forever. And I got them to be peace and, good stuff. And then I just heard about the third. It wasn't even on the news, okay? I joke about it in speeches sometimes. I'll joke about it. I tell my wife, let's watch tonight. It'll be a wonderful night. And they don't even cover it. They don't cover any good stuff with me. Anything that's good, they don't cover. Anything that's okay or bad, I mean, bad, they make it sound like, like let's do the electric chair thing. But it is the most dishonest. The media are the most dishonest people I've ever met. And that's why I go back to the original. I just don't know why. I mean, they can't hate somebody so much, but I guess they do. But they do it with Republican conservatives. I mean, you've had it before I came along. But I don't think never to this extent. They say that Newt Gingrich, they said that the one that got worse than me was Abraham Lincoln. I said, I disagree. They say Abraham Lincoln was just decimated by the press. I said, maybe he was, but it couldn't be worse. If I do something good, they make it look bad. If I do something okay, they make it look like horrible. And the reason I talk, and I say it, you might as well talk about it yourself because nobody else will. If I give it to our very good people, Kayleigh, and we have a lot of good people at the White House. If I give it to them to go out, they won't report it. And did you ever see the way the press, the hostility of the press, the way they scream at these very nice people? They'll make just an ordinary statement and they'll start screaming like a bunch of maniacs. The media.
Well, there are reasons for it.
It's just incredible.
Let me tell you one of the reasons, and
they are sick. It's crazy. Go ahead.
Well, they are. They're in a way they are. I think they have been poisoned to an extent. And I mean this, folks, poisoned by their own hatred. This is not the original reason, but we're into 4 years now that they have tried everything they know to get rid of you. And not a single thing, not a single weapon has worked. These people, if they want to, Mr. President, and Newt's an example, they're able to take out, Sarah Palin's another, they're able to take out and destroy any Republican they choose. It took them 7 years to finally ruin George W. Bush and his reputation in the war in Iraq. But they did it. They got his approval numbers now to the 30s. You in Zogby today are still at 51. They haven't landed a dent, sir. They have not taken you off of your agenda. They've maybe distracted you for now and then, but they haven't stopped you. They can't believe it. They're throwing everything. And so they are doubling down on doing whatever they can to try to get rid of you, just to prove that they can. And it's frustrating as heck that they haven't been able to. It's an amazing thing. And I'm like you. I watched this coverage, and I asked me how many of the American people realize without being told how basically dishonest and unfair this all is. And you hope that a majority of Americans see it for what it is and react accordingly. But I tell you, it's that and the fact that you're an outsider. They never thought you were going to win. They didn't even think you wanted to win. They thought you were engaged in a PR stunt in the first place.
Which is false.
Then you're also implementing policies, sir, that they detest. Your agenda is a small government. Well, it was before the pandemic hit. Your agenda is basically pro-freedom, pro-liberty, pro-the American citizen first. You want to make America. Can you believe make America great again's controversial? Mm-hmm. Who in the world could find a problem with that? These sick people have found a way. Make America great again is reason to destroy you? It doesn't make any sense.
Well, Rush, remember how big the wall was? Everything was the wall, the wall, the wall, and it got bigger and bigger because they figured there was no way to get it financed because it's a massive, it's thousands of miles. The whole thing it's a massive project. It's one of the biggest. It's actually one of the biggest projects, government projects ever. Anyway, so we're building the wall. We're up to 380 miles of wall. Had a huge impact. Nobody gets through this wall. This wall is everything the Border Patrol wanted. I built it exactly. I didn't even agree with them on certain parts of it, but I think they were right. They had to have see-through. They had to have this. They had to have that. It's lined up with all sorts of wires and everything you can imagine. It is the best. Okay, it's the best, and it's had an impact that you wouldn't believe, and nobody thought I was going to get it done. Now it's almost completed. It'll be completed toward the end of the year, very soon. And it'll be about 535 miles. We may even extend it beyond that. But, you have a lot of natural barriers, rivers and mountains and other things that really do a pretty good job. But we're going to have it finished very soon. You don't even hear about it anymore. And you don't hear about how great the border numbers are. People today, I ended catch and release, which was not easy, because I had to go through the Democrats. But I ended, you used to catch somebody and they'd release them into our country. And they'd come back 4 years later, but nobody would ever come back for a court case. It was the craziest thing. You'd catch somebody, even a murderer, and then you'd release them into our country. And then you'd say, you have to be back here in 2.5 years to go to trial. And nobody would come back. Only the very dumbest would come back, okay? And that was about 1%. No, that was about 1%. And it was crazy. Catch and release. I mean, there were many programs like that. We got rid of most of them. And it's not easy to get rid of them. You had to go through all sorts of hoops. But I got rid of catch and release. We have a very good border now. Now only people that come in legally are coming in. We have the wall made a tremendous difference. But you notice you never hear about the wall anymore.
Well, not only that, there have been 2 debates, sir, and in both those debates, your first and the vice presidential debate, there have been 2 areas that have never been explored. Not one question asked about. One's gun control, the Second Amendment. The other is immigration.
Right.
And that's those are 2 strong areas of yours where the American people are with you by a massive majority support number. So they're not even being brought up.
They don't talk about immigration. And we have immigration down really good. In fact, I was going to do an immigration bill. I have it all done. And then my guy said, why bring it up, sir? You have the same policies that you're already implementing, and why should you go through the controversy of it? I mean, we have a great the people that wanted the wall generally love what I've done. I mean, because what we've done and immigration generally, we've got a couple hardliners out there, friends of yours, but the people that wanted the wall, I've done far more than I thought. Our immigration now, because it wasn't just the wall, but we had to cut a lot of these crazy things out. I mean, you have chain migration where somebody comes in illegally. We have a killer who killed 8 people on the West Side Highway, ran over 8 people, a terrorist, jihadist, came in through the southern border, and through chain migration, he brings in his mother, his father, his grandmother, his aunts, his brothers, his uncles. He brings in all these people. And I say, wait a minute. And what we've done is incredible on immigration. Think of it. You have killers that come in, and because of chain migration, they're allowed to bring other people into the country.
That's why they're not asking you about this.
They don't want to talk to me about it. So many things like sanctuary cities. The people in California hate sanctuary cities. I don't know where it gets its political stamina, because the people in California, they see me all the time. I think we'll do well in California. I mean, in theory, you don't win California because everybody likes to vote 3 times, okay, if you want to know the truth. I don't know if you ever saw the list.
Well, we're going to get into that later in the program.
The whole thing is crazy. But the people, they want to vote. They vote numerous times, and it's disgraceful. But the people in California, they don't like sanctuary cities. What are you doing with the sanctuaries? You're protecting criminals. Who wants that? And I've had so many people, liberal friends of mine from California, we'd love to get rid of sanctuary cities. With that thug from, as you know, Kate's Law. Remember Kate's Law? We should have been, we tried like hell to get it passed, but we had we left the filibuster, okay? We should have, gotten rid of the filibuster only because I said, Schumer's going to do it. I told Mitch, Mitch, I get along great with Mitch. We had the greatest success in history on judges. We'll be up to 300 judges and 2 Supreme Court judges, and now 3. Hopefully that'll go quickly. I think she's going to go very quickly. So I have 3 Supreme Court judges, but in the first term, That's never happened before. But I said, the problem is, Mitch, as soon as the Democrats do get in, at some point they get in, they will blow up the filibuster. They'll go nuclear, as you know, and that'll be the end of the filibuster, and they'll approve stuff left and right, 50%. They'll go left and right. And that's the problem I had with it. It's not that they're not right. They did it the right way. Harry Reid, we got lucky because Harry Reid thought that Hillary was going to win, and she knocked out the filibuster for the judges. Otherwise, I wouldn't have 300 judges. I'd have 2 judges.
They all thought Hillary was going to win, and that's another reason why you remain so despised and hated. And, it's not you per se. I mean, some of it is. It's just the fact that you came along and totally upended their grand plans for globalism, changing the way our nation's affairs are run and organized. You really just upset the apple cart in ways they never dreamed possible. They thought the Hillary administration was going to be Obama's 3rd term, and you've just totally thrown them upside down. Now, this leads me to another thing. I go back and I compare the 2016 campaign. And at that point, you don't have a record. You are running for president, but you don't have a record, and you're having so much fun out there. You can tell, every rally, every appearance, every press encounter you have is just loads of fun. Now, you got 3.5 years in, almost 4. You've got a record that just infuriates the Democrats and the media, which are one and the same. And is it as much fun for you now? Is it the whole idea of campaigning? Because now the frustration, I can hear the frustration. You have a great record. Your sense of achievement and accomplishment is incredible, and you have to be the one to tout it, and it's got to be frustrating for you.
So it's such an interesting question because I have done more. We have a list of things that we've done. Just go down the list. Even Space Force, that's a big deal. First in 75 years, right? A new branch of the United States military. That by itself is an achievement that you could just do that and you've had a successful thing. Space Force, think of it, the Army, Navy, Air Force, Marines, Coast Guard. We have Space Force. And that's a big deal, and it's going to be very important, especially as the future, as it goes, maybe the most important. But so many things I've done, and it's incredible. People, you have to sell it yourself because they don't want to talk about it. You don't hear anything about Space Force. You know how big a deal that is? You don't hear about any of this stuff. They don't want to talk about it. But I'll tell you the amazing thing, the one thing I really have learned, the people of our country are smarter than the people that cover them because they get it. How can I be in a position where I'm leading in a lot of states? I mean, don't believe these fake polls. These fake polls, I don't know if you have a look at them. I don't even know why they have to put it down. I think there's a legal reason. But they put down where they interviewed 18% more Democrats than Republicans. Trump is losing by 5. Do you understand what I mean?
Absolutely. I see these all the time.
I still don't know why. I think there's a legal reason because they always say who they interviewed. But when you look down at what they call the tabs, it said one of them said 18% more Democrats. Another one said 14% more. Well, let's assume the Democrats are going to vote for, Sleepy Joe, which is ridiculous because Joe shouldn't be a candidate. Joe's in no condition to be a candidate.
Well,
we can say it nicely or we can say it badly. The 25th Amendment that crazy Nancy's playing around with, she's gone crazy. She's a nut job. But this 25th Amendment, I think they put it in so they can get Kamala in replace.
Exactly. Joe. That's exactly what it is. It's a trial run to see if they can kick Biden out of it. That's exactly right, sir. It's not aimed at you.
That was the first thing I thought of. And by the way, the Republicans have been really very good to me. One thing the Republicans have to do, though, they have to get tougher. We have some great ones. You know that. Jim Jordan and Meadows has been great. A lot of them have been great. But the Republicans have to get tougher. The Democrats play a much dirtier game. They don't, like impeaching on a phone call. I'll never forget. Sir, did you call the president of Ukraine? Yeah, I did. Why? Just to congratulate. I had 5 guys begging me to call him to congratulate. I never met him before. What do I care?
Right.
So they said, did you call the president? Yes. Well, what did you say? I said, I don't know, a couple of months ago. I called him to congratulate him because he became president. Why? What's the word? Sir, they want to impeach you for that call. I said, Impeach me for the call. Impeach me for something, but you can't impeach me. What did I do? I said, congratulations. It's unbelievable. You know, by the way, when they found out, they believed the Schiff version of the call, which he made up standing in front of Congress. Okay?
I saw that.
Schiff is a real crook. He made it up. You know, he said 8 times quid pro quo. Think of what 8 times is. That would mean 8 times you've asked for something illegal on a call, right? Think of what that means. The person on the other side of the call, if you did it once, maybe, twice, maybe, if you did it 8 times, they think you're certifiably insane, right? So Schiff made up the call, and I said, well, there's nothing wrong with the call. We actually took the call because we had the transcript. Fortunately, if we didn't have a transcript, I don't know, would have been my word against a lot of these crooked people. But I actually sent it to the Department of Justice, to some division, and they called up. They said to my people, okay, so what are we looking for here? In other words, you know, these are guys that look at drug deals and murders, and they're going like, okay, explain to us, what are we supposed to – in other words, after having read the call, they're saying, what the hell is wrong with this thing, right? They impeached me. So you have to be – they are meaner, and but they're bad policy, open borders, sanctuary cities, high taxes.
Let me try to simplify this. You know, one of the things I've tried to learn to do over the course of the years is to make the complex understandable. I think this election, sir, is really simple to explain to particularly people who are undecided. And I don't know how many of those there are. I frankly don't know how you can't be decided by them. But this election is really, it boils down to 2 propositions. One is it's between a man, you, who believes America is good and decent and great,
right,
against people who are behind Joe Biden, who think America isn't good. They think America is unjust and immoral from the days of our founding, and they are trying to undermine and transform this country as founded. And that's why you are undermined, and that's why your successes are hidden. That's why your successes are distorted and lied about. It's no more complicated than that. Folks, if you love this country, if you love America, the America you think exists, you don't have a choice in this election. Your only choice is President Trump. If you don't support President Trump here, you are going to end up facilitating the transformation of America into a country it was never intended to be. You're going to have $13 a gallon gasoline with the Green New Deal. You're going to have so much disruption in your life that you can't possibly imagine. And don't doubt me, they're not going to be honest with you about this. But that's really what this is about. You are good. You believe America is good. You believe America is great. You want to keep it that way, and you want to solidify it, and you want America's greatness to be enshrined and empowered for decades beyond you.
And America has great potential, too, because any shortcomings, we can solve those shortcomings, but they're going to make them much shorter. I mean, America has tremendous potential. When you look at what we've done with energy, and they want to take that advantage away and give it to these other countries that are going to always have energy. When you look at the environment, I'm very important. I love the environment. I want clean air. I want clean water. I want, and by the way,
you shouldn't even have to say that. You shouldn't have to say everybody wants clean water. The fact that they're out there claiming you want dirty water and you shouldn't even have to say you like clean water.
Yeah,
that's outrageous.
Like the forest fires in California. If we had forest management, you wouldn't have any forest fires. In Europe, you go there, they have forest nations. They call them Austria, different places. They don't have the woods burning down, and their trees are more explosive than ours, meaning explosive from potential fire. They have trees, and they have, they maintain their forests, and they put cuts in between. So if they have a fire, it doesn't burn down 500,000 acres. They do it properly. Our people don't do that. And then we talk about, they want our air clean, but they don't talk about China, Russia, India, these other countries where the pollution is massive going up. So we have a clean spot on a massive planet. We have a clean spot, which is a small percentage of the planet, a very small percentage of the planet. And then China is spewing crap, and Russia and all of these other, India. And did you ever see what they dump into the ocean that floats into California?
Yeah, that's
unbelievable.
Exactly right, folks.
And we end up cleaning it up. And then they say, well, the environment. I could tell you hundreds of stories. A lot of what you and I talk about is really based on common sense. It's people say, "Are you a conservative?" I say, "No, I'm
based on common sense and love of and for country and people."
Yeah, that's true. It's very true.
Now, I got to get to some questions. We've had, and I'll tell you something, sir. When we went through the questions, and literally, I'm telling you, I've never had a response like you generated. Right. When your appearance was announced. It's the most amazing thing, sir.
Well, I think you're going to see that.
You know what?
I think you're going to see that come November 3rd and a little before that, because our people don't want to send in these fake ballots that are being fraudulently made all over the place.
We're going to get into that. But you know what? Probably one of the most mentioned topics in the questions was health care. People are scared. Let me give you a sample question. Dear President Trump, this is a woman in Massachusetts named Kathy. I'm glad that you and the First Lady are recovering from COVID. So happy you are our president. Thank you for all you do to defend us. My questions about health care and pre-existing conditions are very important to me and a lot of Americans. I believe you said pre-existing conditions will be covered in your health care plan, but please, could you explain this a little more? Because there are a lot of people saying that you're not going to cover pre-existing conditions, and you need to get your message out since the Democrats are trying to malign you on this, and we need to know. Pre-existing conditions are a big deal. Does your plan cover them?
So the Democrats are vicious and they lie. And what they do is, as an example, healthcare and other things, they have me standing at a grave of a beautiful soldier in an old cemetery, magnificent cemetery, and nobody respects soldiers more than I do, especially whether you're talking about live soldiers or soldiers that gave their lives. And they have a source say, these are suckers and losers. This was for a magazine that's third rate, super liberal Obama magazine. And it's a quote. They took that quote from one source. I have 25 people that verbally on the record said that was never said. Who would ever say that? Only an animal would say that. I don't know. I know some very bad people. Nobody do I know that would say a thing like that. They put it in ads. They make it like I said it. I never said. Just the opposite. I've taken care of the military better than anybody. They do the same thing with health care. They will make up a statement that's so bad. Now, pre-existing conditions, I'm totally for it, but I'm against Obamacare because Obamacare is too expensive. I already got rid of the individual mandate, which was the worst part of Obamacare. That's where you had to pay a fortune for the privilege of not paying for bad health insurance. You understand that,
yes,
right?
Sir.
So I got rid of it. And I got rid of it through the law. I got rid of it in our tax decrease. We got the biggest tax decrease in the history of our country. We would have never been able to build up the economy if we didn't get that. But one of the things I got in there, I got rid of the individual mandate. And what I want to do is, and we're fighting to terminate, it's sort of I have terminated Obamacare, because once you get rid of the individual mandate, it's no longer Obamacare. But I had a choice to make, Rush. It was a big choice. Do I maintain Obamacare, the remnants of Obamacare after the mandate? Do I maintain it well, or do I run it badly? I could have done it either way. I have very good people over there, Alex Azar and Seema, the whole group. I said, you know what? We got to run it as well as it can be run. I have no choice. I could have run it really badly and made everybody angry, but I didn't do that. I ran it really well. Knowing that it's run really well, it's still no good. It's still not good. It's much better than when they ran it. They couldn't even remember they spent $50 million, $5 billion on the server, if you remember. They couldn't get the server right.
I do remember. But there still is this confusion about pre-existing conditions out there. And it's a frustrating thing because it's not even the correct title for what the plan does, but that's what people think, and so that's how you have to deal with it. It's correct. But what they do is they love to say that I'm going to get rid of pre-existing conditions. No, I want to terminate Obamacare and then come up with come up with a great health care plan that's much less expensive and does include people with pre-existing conditions. That's what I want to do. Now, they'll also say about Social Security. But you need a Republican Senate for that, and you need a Republican House for that. That's right. In order to do that, what will happen is if we win, the Democrats will do something to help get
healthcare. I mean, they're going to come along because they have no choice. They're going to come along. They have no choice. I will say one thing. You know, we talk about unity because I'd like to see the country come together. It's not as easy as people think. But just prior to the plague coming in from China, when the plague came in from China, people were calling. We had the lowest unemployment we've ever had. We had the best employment, and we were up to 160 million people employed. We never were even close. Everybody had a job.
You had the lowest African-American unemployment in history since records have been kept.
That's right, Rush. So we had the best numbers ever. We had the highest stock market, although I tell you, we're inches away right now for people's 401ks. If they held on to their stocks, they're very wealthy right now. And our economy is doing really amazing. I mean, considering that we're in the, this pandemic thing sent to us by China. But if you look at what we've done, and people were calling me, Rush, in terms of bringing our country together, that I really had never heard from before. In other words, they were not interested. And they were saying, like, let's start getting together. It was coming together. Success was bringing our country together. And then we got hit by the China plague. But success, Rush, even you might be surprised to hear that people that you would have said no way were calling and saying, can we get together? And it was coming together because success, and I've always said success will bring us together. Our military is strong. When I took over, we had no ammunition. We had a case where a certain general, highly overrated general, told me we have no ammunition. And I said, what are you talking about? I say, no president should ever be told that again. Now we have so much.
I heard you say that. I was frankly surprised that we were low on ammo. I mean, I don't think I've ever heard that before.
He said, sir, we have no ammunition. Okay. And I said, keep that very quiet. And then we started building up. And now we have new rockets, new missiles. We have stuff the likes of which Russia dreams of the stuff that we have. China dreams of the stuff that we have. And we can't talk about it, and we shouldn't talk about it. We have things and hope to God we never have to use it. Our nuclear is all tippy-top now, and you don't want to even say it. We have no choice but to say it. We were so far behind. If you look, I call him O'Biden. Obama and Biden, what they did to our military was horrible.
And economy. I mean, they were telling everybody that we need to adapt our expectations to a new era of decline.
That's right. No manufacturing.
America's best days are behind us. I mean, it was outrageous. And, GDP 1.5% max every year.
Right. No, we were, but it was coming together, Rush. And I'm telling you, and you would be a skeptic, maybe almost more than.
No, I know it was coming together. I am a skeptic.
Together for the first time. For the first time.
I am a skeptic on this, believe me, more than you know.
I think so. That's true.
I got another question for you. Mr. President, this is Marion, Missouri. This is our second most mentioned topic that people want to hear you address. Mr. President, drives me crazy that the Democrats can call all of us out here racist and sexist just because we don't agree with them. It's the easiest thing in the world to call somebody racist because nobody wants to be racist or anti-anything, and we aren't racist. Why do Democrats get away with it, sir? And how do Republicans say enough is enough? We are tired of being called evil racist when all we want is for all Americans to be free, to have the blessed opportunity this Constitution and country offers everybody. We want a healthy and safe future, and we love everybody. How do we deal with this, sir? How do we finally shut this down? What would you tell her?
I've watched this for a long time. I've had it. I've probably been a victim of it. You and I and a couple of others more than anybody, and we're just the opposite. When they give up, when we're beating them, they have nothing else to fall back on but the word racist. And that means that when you're winning and you're just knocking the hell out of them, they have nothing else to say. They call you a racist. And this has been going on for decades. I don't know that you're going to stop it, but people are wise to it, and people are rolling their eyes now. They're rolling their eyes. It is just an incredible thing. The way they use the race word, the racist word, is actually disgusting. I was asked by Chris Wallace, who's third rate. I was asked by him. He was protecting Biden the other night. It was pathetic. I couldn't even ask him, why did you get $3.5 million from the mayor's wife of Moscow?
Right.
Why did you say $1 billion unless you get rid of the prosecutor, and then you give him the $1 billion. And Chris Wallace and he was choking like a dog. He wasn't able to answer, and Chris Wallace would go in and save him every time. That whole thing was disgraceful.
Well, you know what we're going to do today? You know what we're going to do? We're going to give you a chance to actually respond to Joe Biden. Because you're right, the moderators of these debates are never asking Biden to explain himself. No. What did you mean by that, sir? They're not asking you to explain Biden. They're asking you to explain you. So I have some Joe Biden sound bites here, anywhere from 13 to 17 seconds, that no moderator will ever ask you to respond to. And as such, the American people don't know that he has said these things.
Oh, yeah.
Let's try one.
Okay, go.
This is from December 30th, 2019, and he's in Derry, New Hampshire, telling coal miners to forget coal mining and learn how to code.
Anybody who could go down 300 to 3,000 feet in the mine sure and hell can learn how to program as well. Give me a break. Anybody who can throw coal into a furnace can learn how to program, for God's sake.
They're putting down coal miners. You never get asked about it. You never hear these sound bites anywhere in the media. What do you think of that?
Well, I think it's terrible. And you could look at so many other things. Look at fracking. He went for a whole year saying, no way there'll be fracking. Mark my words, there will not be fracking. And so did Kamala. You know, Kamala, she's another great one. And they talk about fracking.
She should have listened to Willie Brown. Willie Brown told her not to accept this job, and she did it anyway.
I thought she was Mike beat her so badly the other night, but she's just not good at what she did. Hey, don't forget, she started off. She only went down in the polls. That's usually not the person you want to pick to run for vice president. Anyway, but the both of them, they talk about fracking like it was the greatest sin on earth. Then they get the nomination, and now they're talking about they want to do fracking. But, you know, I find in politics, always follow their first words, because that's where they're going. They have no choice. They agreed with Bernie Sanders and all the people on the manifesto. And if you read that manifesto is further left than Bernie Sanders, much further left than Bernie Sanders. You know, usually you think they'd take him right. Bernie took him left. He took him left of where he was. But if you look at the fracking, the coal, you could say the coal. Remember Hillary, 3 weeks before she went to West Virginia, she was knocking the hell out of coal. And then she forgot she had to go to West Virginia. So she goes to West Virginia, and she sat at the table with the miners. And it was just the end of her when she knocked the coal.
Well, you know what? I think
and
it would be.
What they do with coal now, with clean coal, is amazing. You know, we have more than anybody. But what they do with clean coal is amazing. We have more energy than anybody, and these other countries want to take it away with the Paris Accord and all of this. They want to take away our wealth. They want to take away our jobs, our companies. It is disgraceful.
You know, explain fracking to people, sir, because it's a term that's thrown out there, and I know what it is. I can explain it. A lot of people can, but a lot of people don't know what it is and why it's so outrageous that they will not commit and they will not get their story straight on whether or not they're going to ban it. What is it?
Well, basically, it's getting energy out of the ground really efficiently and getting every drop of it. And it's created wealth for our country like you wouldn't believe. And it's really been over the last small number of years that's really become, you know, you used to see these massive oil wells and, you know.
You can basically go in and drill sideways in the shale.
Drill sideways. They can drill up and down and around. It's unbelievable. If you ever watch this process, and they just suck stuff out of the ground it's just incredible, the technology. And for whatever reason, for our country, you know, we've become the biggest oil producer in the world right now, by far. Not even a contest. We're bigger than Russia, bigger than Saudi Arabia, and to a level that nobody can believe. And I saved the industry 6-7 months ago when our oil dropped because of the pandemic. I got Russia and Saudi Arabia together. You know, it's good to get along with countries. Not necessarily a bad thing, Rush. You know, you understand that. And they cut 10 million barrels a day. It's actually more than that, but they cut. And we saved the oil. We saved 10 million jobs in this country. And yet everybody has cheap gasoline. Look at the gasoline at $2 a gallon. Nobody thought that would be possible. That's better than a tax cut. So, you know, if you want to know the truth, when gas used to go up to $5, $6 and people would say, oh, our country, and they couldn't buy cars, they couldn't do anything. We have very inexpensive gasoline. And yet it's high enough that we have our energy jobs. We have millions and millions of energy jobs in Texas and and North Dakota and Oklahoma and Pennsylvania. So Biden goes, and you notice they never talk about fracking. So he said no fracking, and he's in Pennsylvania.
They're going to ban it.
Yeah, and
just like they're going to stack the court. They will not confirm. You know what you ought to tell Amy Coney Barrett? That she's not going to answer any questions about how she'll rule until after she's confirmed.
No, I know. It's incredible what he said yesterday. I couldn't believe it. And that's such a big thing. But think of it. He's in Pennsylvania. Now, Pennsylvania is a big, big fracking thing. It's 1 million jobs. It's tremendous energy. They have low energy costs.
And they won't admit what they're going to do. And they won't.
No, but he said just the opposite. He said there'll be no fracking. And then once he gets to Pennsylvania, he said, no, there'll be fracking. I couldn't get away with that. Nobody could get away with that. But they let him. They don't even ask him a question about fracking. I mean, they don't say to him, well, wait a minute, you said you won't frack, and now you're saying you're going to frack. Because if Pennsylvania believed that, they couldn't vote for him because he'd put Pennsylvania out of business, along with Ohio and other places.
Exactly. Let's go to another Biden soundbite. This is from May of this year. He was on a radio program called The Breakfast Club with my old buddy Charlemagne the God. And he said to Biden, you got to come back and see us. It's a long way till November. We got more questions for you.
You got more questions, but I tell you, if you have a problem figuring out whether you're for me or Trump, then you ain't black.
And there you go. If you got a problem figuring out whether you're for me or Trump, you ain't just insulted free-minded, open-minded African Americans, and never gets called up. You try that.
He doesn't get called. I will say this though, the black community gets it. They don't dig him. They don't like him. They don't like him. And I'm getting numbers, we're at 20%, 22%, which not that I'm proud of that because it should be 100%. But, if you look at what I've done for criminal justice reform, Obama couldn't get criminal justice reform done. I did prison reform. The small colleges and universities, historically black, what I've done, I got them funded. They were coming back every year, hat in hand, every year begging for money, and I got them taken care of for a 10-year period, all funded, fully funded. What I've done is, and then with Tim Scott, we did the opportunity zones, which is the greatest, most incredible thing for the black community, the African-American community, with jobs and everything else. No, I've done more, and I say it, and, at first people said, oh, it's too much to say. I said, I've done more for the black community than anybody since Abraham Lincoln. And it's true. Nobody's done what I've done. Yeah. But, they don't like Biden. They don't like Biden. He did the super predator stuff. He was the super predator king.
Here, listen to this one. Now, this is August 14th, 2012. This is 8 years ago. He's vice president. It's a campaign event. He's talking about Mitt Romney and Paul Ryan here.
He's going to let the big banks once again write their own rules. Unchain Wall Street. They're going to put you all back in chains.
They're going to put you all back in the black audience. Are going to put you all back in chains. 8 years ago. I don't understand why it's even a contest. These kind of things ought to be automatic disqualifiers.
But he's a different guy there. You can hear by the way he talks. He's out of it. Look, he's out of it. Now, we can't have a president that's out of it because I meet with Xi and I meet with Putin. I meet with all of them.
He wasn't out of it there. He knew exactly what he was saying there.
Right.
That's your point.
Right. That's right. He's a different guy. He's out of it. He's in a daze. I look at the things he says. I look at what he says. I look at the way he says it. He's in a daze. And it's not because he's 78 or whatever he is, because I know guys that are 92. Bernie Marcus from Home Depot. He's 100% sharp. But Joe, there's something wrong. We can't have that.
Well, but he made it through the debate. He made it through 90 minutes of that debate without betraying any of the mental limitations, shall we say.
I agree, but he was not able to answer the Russia thing, and he was choking, and he was not able to answer the billion-dollar prosecutor thing.
Well, you did kind of bail him out, by the way. He started to fade, and you kept talking at him. I think he was Now, Mr. President, some of you tweeted about this. When I saw this blew my mind. It literally blew my mind. This is a Gallup poll. Found that 56% of the American people say they are better off today, even during the pandemic, than they were 4 years ago. That's stunning to me. That's the highest number on record.
I know. Highest number ever recorded that they're better off today than they were at any time before during a pandemic. And that's what I've built. And we've built this. And the only reason we're doing well is because the foundation was so strong, Rush. The foundation. If we didn't have a strong foundation, you'd be 1929. And if he got in, you'll be 1929 because he's going to raise everybody's taxes. They don't talk about that either. He's going to raise everybody's taxes. And you know what else they never talk about? Something that I think is a very, very important thing, the Second Amendment. They don't say that he's going to take away your guns. He's going to They never talk about it.
Never comes up in a debate. That and immigration, those two subjects never come up. They haven't come up at either of the debates yet.
That's right. That's right. So it's pretty crazy. It's amazing that here we sit in the White House. Every once in a while I say, it's not fair the way I get treated. And then I'm sitting in the Oval. I'll say, oh, this is the Oval Office.
You're there, and they're not.
So it's pretty amazing. And that's because the people get it. The people of this country are really smart, and they do get it. And they can do everything they can. And again, the only thing is I don't know why they do it, but they do it. They're very dishonest and evil in many ways. But
these people,
the people of the country get it.
They do, but they love you. Mr. President, seriously now, they know that you are the only person standing in the way of the left's efforts to undermine America and turn it into something it was. I mean, they're scared to death of what's going to happen if you lose. They're scared to death of what's going to happen if somehow these people can harm you. They want you to have a deep understanding of how much you mean to them, how important you are to them in preserving the American way of life. It is more important because it's at risk. The American way of life is at risk, and you, sir, are the only man standing in the way of people destroying that. This is what millions and millions and millions of Americans think. It's got to be a big burden on you, but...
Well, I'm glad you said it, because if I say it, and you said before something that, why do you say it yourself? Because I have to, and because nobody else will say it. You know, I tell that to people. You might as well say it yourself because nobody else is going to say it. I don't like saying it. I wish other people would say it, and I love that you can say it. But the truth is, I am a wall, just like the wall we're building. I'm a wall in between this incredible thing that has such potential. We have something with such potential, you have no idea. Even you might not understand. The level of potential of this country is incredible. The people are incredible. The resources, we have wealthy land. We're on top of land. They want to take it away from us. They want to take our wealth away. They want to take our jobs away, our factories away. They want us to be in the same position. We're born on very energy. You look at the energy we have more than anybody in the world. They want to take all of these advantages that we have over other countries and throw them away. And, we have such incredible potential, and they want to, I am a wall between the potential of this country to be better than ever before and a country that will become a third world country of Venezuela. I used to say it could be Venezuela. I used to say it half-heartedly. It's true. It'll be just a massive version. If you look at Venezuela, it's a massive version of Venezuela. Venezuela was, you remember Venezuela 20 years ago.
I do.
You had a lot of wealthy
But most people don't know what Venezuela is. It's not.
Venezuela has gone so bad. They don't have food. They don't have water. They don't have medicine. They have lots of wealth, too. They have oil, but they have lots of wealth, but they have nothing. They've gone socialist and probably more. If you look at Kamala, that's more than social. She's further left than Crazy Bernie. And this is what they want. They wanted her. I don't know why. I don't know if they're happy with her. I think she's
because she couldn't win on her own, sir. They had to do this to get her. You nailed it earlier when you said Pelosi's 25th Amendment gambit is actually a trial run at getting rid of Biden. That's what they want. They want her in the Oval Office because she's going to be the vessel for the AOCs and the Bernie Sanders agenda and the far left. She could never. She got out of the Democrat primaries before a single vote was cast. That's how badly she was doing.
That's right. She was so bad. She left before Iowa. And look at Iowa, by the way. You remember the Iowa. Nobody even knows to this day who won Iowa, right? They went with this scheme that now they want to multiply times 1,000 on the voting stuff. And wait till you see. I'm sure that you'll have a question about that, but wait till you see how bad the ballot thing. All over the country, thousands of ballots are being thrown away and defrauded and cut up. And when they talk about other countries coming in, it's a lot easier for them to print illegal ballots. I guess you'd say counterfeit ballots than it is some of the other things that you're talking about. But this whole, it's a one scary thing when they send out millions and millions of ballots and you say, who's sending them? Where are they sending them? Who's bringing them? Who's reporting them? Who's signing them? I mean, millions and millions of ballots. It's a disgrace. And look at all of the bad things that have happened over the last year with the ballots. Look at Carolyn Maloney's race in New York, a small race.
Well, the examples are all over the country. In fact, I've got a couple. I have a couple I want to run by you. But may I ask you to do a favor for me?
Yes.
I want you to take just a 45 or 60-second break here while I share something with you. Then you can react to it. But it's going to take me about a minute to go through it.
I'd love to.
Fascinating piece. It's a piece in the Federalist from October 19th. Is that right?
Okay.
Yeah. And it's by David Sound. The headline, I didn't vote for Trump in 2016, but I would crawl over broken glass to vote for him now. I don't care about the tone of his tweets or if his opponents think he's rude. I've seen that he's a patriot who genuinely loves the United States of America and its people. And then he lists, and you can't do this. We've been talking, but I'm going to do this. He lists your first-term accomplishments and how impressive they are. Building the strongest U.S. economy in my lifetime, he writes, through historic business and personal tax cuts, resulting in millions of jobs created, record low unemployment. He cut federal government regulations that had a stranglehold on American business innovators and entrepreneurs. He confronted the Chi-Com's trade abuses and negotiated fair trade deals with Canada, Mexico, South Korea, and Japan. He eliminated the Obamacare individual mandate, which equals freedom in health care. He rebuilt the military through investments in our defense capabilities, as well as secured the largest military pay raise in a decade. He nominated and confirmed more solid conservative circuit court judges than any other first-term administration, nominating and fighting for the confirmation of two originalists, Gorsuch, Brett Kavanaugh, to the Supreme Court, then nominating Amy Coney Barrett to fill the vacancy left by Ruth Bader Ginsburg, and finally moving the U.S. Embassy in Israel to Jerusalem. Your first-term record is truly outstanding, and it's still being made. Your record is still being written. You are still president. You are still implementing your agenda, despite this opposition. And I wanted to share this with you because this guy did not vote for you 4 years ago, and now he can't wait to.
Well, I'm going to get that one. I'm going to have to put that one up pretty soon. But, look, I'm honored by it. And with time, more and more people see the things we've done. I put out lists, and they're pages and pages long. We've done a job, and I'm very honored by it, and I'm very proud of it. We've helped a lot of people. On the pandemic, I was telling you about this medicine. I'm so proud of it. People don't want to write about it, but that's okay. But this is better than the vaccine, and it's going out literally as we speak. We have the U.S. military logistics. They're bringing it out. This is such a big thing, but we have done such a good job on the pandemic. We get zero credit. We fed these governors whose shelves were empty, and our shelves were empty too. I say our cupboard was bare, and we filled it up with all sorts of stuff, and we send it all over the United States. In New York, we built him convention centers that they should have used. We sent ships that they should have used instead of putting old people with other people that were sick, and a lot of problems were caused, as you know. But we did such a job. We did such a great job and made some governors look great. And by the way, when we have our phone calls, we'll have 50 governors. They're all saying, thank you, thank you, thank you. Rarely do we have anybody speak up. And when they do, we take care of them. And then they'll go and they'll speak to the press and they'll say, well, yeah, the president was okay. What we've done for them with the ventilators were an impossible situation. We now build more ventilators by 5 times than anybody else. And we're supplying them to the world. And they're very complicated, expensive, et cetera, et cetera. But we've done a great job.
Well, that's another thing, this massive remobilization of American industry. Yeah.
One of the biggest, I guess the biggest they say since the Second World War. But you know what? This is the biggest of all. If the Regeneron and the Lilly comparable drug, turns out. This is a cure. This is a therapeutic. Call it what you want. I can tell you it's a cure. And I'm talking to you today because of it. And, because I think I could have been a bad victim. I fit certain categories that aren't so great, okay? And you better be careful too, okay? But you won't. I'm telling you, this is a total game changer. It's so good. And nobody else would have had it. FDA is approving things in 1 week that used to take 3 years. And that's only because I'm bugging them like crazy. I drive them crazy, I guess, but that's okay. But FDA, Food and Drug Administration, is approving things that Rush would have taken years, and I'm getting them in a matter of weeks and months. And they're great things. But this is the greatest of them all if this works out, and I'm very sure it's going to.
Well, I hope it does. Again, you're writing history with this. Let me venture into another area. It was announced by the Attorney General that his investigator, the attorney looking into the coup run against you, will not have any announcements, any results, before the election. This is disappointing. I cannot tell you.
When was this announced, Rush?
I think I've got the story here in the stack. I thought it was
I think it's terrible.
Fairly recently.
I think it's terrible.
Well, it is, because these are people. This is the biggest political scandal in the history of this country, certainly our lifetimes.
If that's the case, I'm very disappointed. I think it's a terrible thing, and I'll say it to his face.
Here it is. Barr tells Republicans Durham report will not be ready by election. It came out today.
That's a disgrace. I think it's a disgrace. It's an embarrassment.
Well, I don't have the words to express my anger. I mean, I'm not saying I'm surprised. I'm angry.
I've had to go through it twice now with elections, and yet they have. See, this is what I mean with the Republicans. They don't play the tough game. They don't play the tough game. If this were the other side, you would have had 25 people in jail for the rest of their lives with what we found.
Oh, you tried something like this against any of them? Heck yes.
Oh, are you kidding me? You would have been 20. Look at me. I had to beat off the phony Mueller report. I had to beat off all this stuff. I had to beat off impeachment. I had to beat off Congress, everything else. They then send it to New York, which is all political. They send it into New York, the same stuff into New York. You have to beat that off. They got New York all over. They don't stop. This is a disgrace. If that just came out, and, I purposely tried to stay away from it because they all say it would be better if I'm not involved.
Well, have you declassified everything about this yet?
I fully declassified everything. Everything's been declassified. They have so much information. They didn't need any more than, frankly, Mr. Horowitz, who was an Obama appointment. He wrote a report on Comey that was so bad. It was so bad. I've never seen anything like it. And they should have gone after him just on that. And McCabe, too. Took $700,000 from Hillary Clinton.
I don't know how these people are still on cable TV lying through their teeth about all of this, still getting paid to carry forth the lie.
If that's the case, and you have to understand, I'm hearing this for the first time, and I said it's impossible. So it's okay for me to have to go through investigations during an election, but for them, we don't want to upset the apple cart.
It wasn't an investigation. It was a hunt.
The Republicans don't play the same game.
You didn't do anything. There was never any evidence. This was not an investigation. It was a hunt. You were being hunted. They were trying to plant and create evidence that would be believed, and they failed.
We caught them. We caught them cold, and we have people that don't know how to do anything about it. It's horrible. If that's the case, I have to check that. I find it hard to believe. Because you know what? I went through 2 elections. You don't think that affected 18? I wasn't running in 18, but the whole Russia witch hunt affected the 18 outcome of the election. We lost some congressional seats. People don't say we picked up 2 Senate seats, but we lost something in 18. We lost something. We lost some seats that we probably could have held on to. We went through the same thing, and it was all phony stuff. Nobody said, let's hold it back until after the election. But the Republicans don't play the same game. They don't play the same game. I'd be surprised, and I'd be very disappointed. I'll probably be disappointed because this stuff should have come out a year ago anyway.
Did you expect it to?
Everything they needed a year ago.
Did you expect it to come out by now?
I thought it should have come out 2 years ago. I mean, frankly, as far as I was concerned. Look, It's if they hold it because of the election. I've gone through 2 elections now.
Well, that's what he says. They're holding it.
They started investigating me before I even won the election.
It says
They
here.
started investigating me when I was coming down the escalator, the beautiful golden escalator, as it goes, with the First Lady. I was under investigation illegally by these thieves and Comey and crooks. We caught them in the act. They were spying on my campaign, and then they went for a coup. Nobody said, well, gee, let's hold off the investigation. But with them, they do. The Republicans don't play it the same way. It's very disappointing.
No, it was frustrating. For the first 6 months of your first term, half the Republicans in the House thought it was true, and that's why they didn't help you move your agenda. But it says right here, this is Axios, by the way, is the news source, and they say that Barr is communicating that his investigator, Durham, is taking his investigation very seriously and is focused on winning prosecutions, which I guess we're to expect scoring points in the media.
Let's let everybody get elected to office, and then let's worry about it. First of all, if we don't win this election, that whole thing's going to end, okay? And you just remember that.
As
if we
will
don't win this election. That's another thing I'm fighting for, because these people have to be brought to justice, but they should have been brought to justice before the election. But if we don't win this election, that whole thing is going to be dismissed.
That's another thing. People want to know what they can do, sir. You would not believe the numbers of people who are asking, what can they do besides vote? And voting is big. I mean, I tell people that ask me this, that's the first thing. Just make sure you vote, show up and vote on Election Day, but vote. It's not insignificant. What else can people do? Because they want to help you. They want to know what they can do.
Keep up the genius, because they're genius. They get it better than these guys that are looking at stuff. I'm telling you, they get it better. The American public gets this better than the so-called people that are looking. You know, when I look at the Times and I look at the Washington Post, fake papers, both of them, and they get Pulitzer Prizes for the Russia investigation, but they were all wrong. There was no collusion. So they get Pulitzer Prizes.
Wasn't a true word in any of those stories.
No, none of it. And the guys that did get it right, they don't get Pulitzer Prizes, and you and I can name 10 of them, okay? You're one of them, but you don't care about Pulitzer Prizes. But the ones that got it, they don't get anything. But just, Rush, take a look at how wrong these people were. And they pretend they know me. Maggie Haberman, all of these people, they know. I have nothing against them. But they don't know me. They don't know me. I haven't seen her. I haven't spoken to her in a year and a half. You take one picture with somebody, it ends up being like the best friends for the rest of your life. Take a picture at the Oval Office with a photographer, with a reporter, and then they write though as though you're like you can't live without them. I don't even speak to these people, but look at the bad reporting that they've done. Look how wrong they were about everything. They got Pulitzer Prizes for the Pulitzer organization. Frankly, is a disgrace. They gave Pulitzer Prizes to everybody that shouldn't have gotten them.
Yep.
They were all wrong.
Folks, let me just...
The people that should get the Pulitzer Prizes didn't get them.
I want to back the president up on this, folks. In this story that we're talking about here, the Russian collusion meddling story, do not doubt me, there wasn't a word of truth in any of the stories that were published oftentimes 4 times a day for the first year. There was no truth. When Robert Mueller was handled the file on the day he became the special counsel, it was empty. There was never any evidence. This was not an investigation. There was nothing to investigate. It was a hunt. It was an outrage, and to be awarded a Pulitzer Prize for printing not a single thing that is true is genuinely discrediting to Pulitzer. And you would think these people would care about that, but they don't, sir. All that matters is getting rid of you. That's all that matters.
You would think they'd want to take back the prizes on the basis that they made a mistake. I mean, you would think the committee would meet and say, I'm sorry, but you got it wrong. We're going to have to, remand. We're going to have to take back the prizes. But Rush, think of it. They was totally wrong, and they all got Pulitzer Prizes. And then they go on to another story. It's the same stuff. It's so disgraceful when you look at what's gone on. It's so dishonest. And they knew it. And Mueller was a fraud. The whole thing was a fraud.
The thug.
And they were just thugs. And I'll tell you something. A friend of mine said, a friend of mine who's a very smart, very successful guy, lawyer, said, you must be the most honest guy in the world. You've gone through 3.5 years of investigations. They found nothing. And they've gone through my taxes. They've gone through everything. Hey, they spent $48 million. I think the last number I heard was $48 million investigating me. They've gone through my taxes. They've gone through everything you can imagine at a level that nobody can even believe. Nobody's ever had to put up, and no other president should have to put up with this. But then I hear that they're not going to do the thing before the election. Why? Because they're afraid they're going to influence the election. Because that's the way the Republicans are. They play so nice all the time.
Yeah,
that would be very disappointing. If Bill Barr actually made that statement, I would be very disappointed in him. I don't know that he made that statement. But if he did do that, I'd be
that's a good point. I mean, it is the drive-by media. It's Axios. And the story is that Barr is telling leading Republicans. It's not that he's made it public. It's that he's...
Well, they've had plenty of time to do it. They've been looking at it for 2 years. The facts are on the table. All you have to do is take a look at the Horowitz report on Mueller. Even the New York Times on Mueller and on especially what they read about this idiot Comey, the world's worst FBI director. But
why do you think
he's a very dishonest guy?
Do you think the American people? Do you think the American people are not aware of this? Do you think they don't know the?
They're totally aware. No, they're totally aware. Even the other side's aware of it. The other side laughs about it. They can't believe they got away with it. You want to know the truth? You know, they're not stupid. They're very smart. The other side laughs about it. It's not like they believe the Russia thing. They don't.
Well,
believe
I know,
it.
but if they
laugh about it,
if they think they got away with it, then I'm leading up to the American people should be, if they know what happens, so outraged. No way they would vote Democrat. This is outrageous. This is antithetical to everything this country stands for. What happened to you?
They tried to do a takedown of a very legitimately, in fact, beyond, because I was fighting. Little did I know, because I didn't know when they started this investigation, which was long before the race. After I won, they tried to take me out. Before I won, they tried to, it was a fraud. It was the Russian witch hunt.
Well, they were trying to corrupt your transition.
You know this better than anybody. And Putin, I guarantee you, says this to everybody. Nobody has been tougher on Russia than I have. I got NATO to pay $410 billion more to protect against Russia. I was the one that exposed Nord Stream, the pipeline going into Germany. I said, wait a minute, you're paying Russia billions of dollars, and we're supposed to protect you from Russia. What kind of a deal is this? I was the one that gave tank busters to Ukraine, and Obama gave them pillows. Remember the pillows, probably from the Pillow Man on Fox. But Obama gave them pillows and sheets.
Right.
And I gave them tank busters. I gave them money. Obama did. Nobody has been tougher on Russia than I have. Nobody.
Well, Mr. President, I think something the American people need to know is that the Democrats and the media, which is, again, one and the same, have done more with 4 years of lies and misrepresentation, utter outright lies about you supposedly stealing the election from Hillary with the Russians. They have done more, sir. This is important. They have done more to corrupt the integrity and the honor of the presidential election system than Vladimir Putin could have ever hoped to. They have made people doubt, and they're now talking about how this upcoming election, the Russians are in the process of stealing it too. These people are so dishonorable and disreputable, and they need to be made to be held accountable for what they have done to the perception of honesty and integrity in our elections, to the very serious effort they are making to transform this country into something it was never founded to be. But this business of trying to say that you stole the election, that you meddled with the Russians. They did. Hillary did. Hillary came up with this whole scheme in order to protect her from her email scandal. This is something they did, and now they're running around and they're doing more damage to the integrity, the perceived honesty of our electoral system than anything Vladimir Putin could have ever hoped.
She deleted 33,000 emails. She should be in jail for that. I don't even care if they're very highly confidential emails. I don't care what. She deleted. She got a question. She got a statement from Congress, a subpoena from Congress. Everybody. We want your emails, all of Hillary Clinton's emails, 33,000 of them. She deleted them, she acid washed them, and she broke her telephones with a hammer. okay? Broke them with a hammer. And by the way, speaking of that, and speaking of Bill Barr, 31 people deleted their telephone messages from the Mueller report, okay? And they said they all made a mistake. Well, they made the same mistake. The chances are 1,000,000,000 to 1 that they would have made the same mistake. 31 phones were wiped clean on the Mueller report. I want to see those phones, right? And how do you allow 31 phones? I think it was 19 people, 31 phones. You read about it just recently. They want the phones because they want the information of the phones because we caught them cheating. And they were all wiped clean, or most of them were wiped clean. We have a couple, believe it or not. But they were wiped clean. They were deleted. Everything was deleted and cleansed. And you're not allowed to do that. They broke the law. Nothing happens to these people.
No.
But they go after General Flynn. They go after Papadopoulos. They go after all these people. It is a disgrace. And one of the reasons I want to win so badly is we got to finish this thing off. And I will be very disappointed if that Axios piece that you read to me is true. I'll be very disappointed because they've had plenty of time to get this done. Plenty of time.
Absolutely. Sir, why do you think Vice President Biden agreed to go on with the town hall debate number 2? If you can prove you're virus-free on October 15th, and then he retracted the demand, now agrees with the commission to Zoom the debate, wants a virtual debate, and if he doesn't show up, are you going to show up anyway? What are they trying to pull off here?
I don't think the debates mean that much because, and I'll tell you what, I've done well with debates. I've won, I guess I had 15. I think I won every single poll. I won the poll on this one with him. But I had to be rude because he was lying. He'd get up and he'd just say a series of things that were all lies. So I'd say false, and they'd say I interrupted him. But you know, if you look at the polls, most polls say I won it with him. But it was a very interesting thing. I'd rather let him speak because he's gone. He's mentally gone, and eventually he goes off track and he'll start talking about the birds and the bees. But I couldn't do that because he was saying so many false things. He'd say about the soldiers. He'd say about Social Security, which I'll protect and he won't protect, by the way. He's not going to protect. So he doesn't even know what it is. He'll say about Social Security. He'll say about – and if I didn't say wrong, you know, et cetera, but the one who protected him was Chris Wallace. And by the way, Fox is a whole different ballgame. You know, Fox is a much different thing than it was 4 years ago. Somebody said, what's the biggest difference? I said, the biggest difference is Fox. You take a look at Fox. Of course, we have our great ones, Sean, and this, but and you know, a number of them. But you watch this Fox is a whole different ballgame. And, you know, Paul Ryan is on the board of Fox, so I'm sure that has something to do with it. But Fox is a whole different ballgame. Somebody said to me, what's the biggest difference? I said, the biggest difference is Fox is no longer the same. It's a big difference.
The obstacles that keep being placed in front of you are no doubt there. And I've never seen, I've told you this before, I talk about it on this program, I've never seen anything like this before. The things that you have to overcome and surmount each and every day would drive most people out of the business. It drive most people. I don't need this.
I can talk to you.
And I don't know. Again, I'm asking you. You didn't need any of this, sir.
It's bigger. But why I can talk to you, Rush, the great Rush, and you are the great one, and I'm honored to know you. But I can talk to you, and I can spell out all of the dishonesty and everything else, and millions of people are listening right now. I hope you have your all-time biggest audience.
Millions and millions and millions. You would not believe how many millions.
No, but I can talk to you. Now, let's say I say, no, I don't want to do it, or I want to be shy. I don't want to talk that, you know, too many people. Let's not talk. No, you have such an incredible audience. So I can tell them about Fox being a big obstacle. It's a problem. Fox is a problem. When Roger Ailes ran Fox, I mean, Roger had a very strong point of view. It's totally gone. And I think it's influenced by Paul Ryan. He's on the board. I can't believe it. Here's a guy who failed as Speaker. Do you know that Nancy Pelosi issues a subpoena like it's cookies, right? Everything you do. Did you make a phone call 12 years ago? Oh, issue a subpoena. You couldn't get a subpoena out of Paul when we have great guys. I mean, we have Jim Jordan and these guys. They're so fantastic.
They're doing great jobs. There's no question. But how do you have no choice. You have to deal with it. So I said Fox is different than they were 4 years ago, but you still have to deal with it. I deal with them. But they've gone a very different path. It's a much different group.
They have guys on there that are so bad. They have people, I call them the twins, there's Chris Hahn and
well, they just hired a bunch of Democrats so they can be fair.
No, he works for Schumer. They're Schumer people.
Yeah.
How about when they hired Donna Brazile, who gave Hillary the questions to the debate? Okay?
Yeah, I hear you.
Who got fired? By the way, Donna Brazile got fired from CNN, and then Fox hires her. Got no credibility. It's not like she's great entertainment. It's not even good entertainment.
I know this unfairness never ends. It never ends. It's our way of life. It's something we have to deal with, and it's maddening.
But when they do that, when they put somebody like a Donna Brazile, not that she's effective, she's not effective.
No, but you are. See, you are. That's the difference. That's the difference. You are the one. You think they're driving you crazy. You have no idea what you're doing to them. You're driving them insane, sir. They can't touch you.
Fox should grab it, and they should say, hey, we got the president, and we're going to defend our president. But they're not. They're going the way of CNN, and they're going the way of MSDNC, and it's a shame. I mean, it's a shame. When I see it, I watch it. I look at the people they hire. I mean, I could tell you some of the anchors. They're so bad. They're so bad. And at the same time, Fox and Friends is terrific in the morning. Right. You know, they're good.
Well, you are a TV expert. I mean, there's no question.
Well, I have to be. I have no choice.
The Apprentice.
Because otherwise you couldn't survive it. Sean is great. And Tucker's pretty good. You know, Tucker has his moments, in all fairness, but Tucker's pretty good. And Laura's been great. And, you know, we have a lot of good stuff. But Fox is 50% of what they were. I would say less than 50, but 50% of what they were. That's still better than nothing. At some point, maybe they'll go all the way, and that will be fine, too. I'll figure that out.
By the way, speaking of your effectiveness, I don't know if you've seen this, but the NBA has decided, NBA commissioner, they're going to pull their Black Lives Matter messaging next year. No longer going to be on the uniforms, no longer going to be on the basketball court. They're no longer going to. And I wonder why that is, Mr. President.
Because their ratings have died.
Oh, I wouldn't have known.
I haven't watched a basketball game, and I helped them get open. I haven't watched a basketball game.
You tried to help them. You tried to help the NFL.
I tried to help the NFL. And then Roger, nice guy, Goodell, in his basement wearing a very tight blue T-shirt, you know, and he's not meant for it. Nor am I, nor are you. It's just one of those things, you know, at a certain age you put on a tie, right? But what happens is he brought it up again. I said to him, I thought I taught you a lesson 2 years ago about standing for the flag. Their ratings went down the tubes. And now you look at everybody with their hands in the air and they're kneeling. And I just don't have the same interest. And neither do a lot of other people, Rush. The NBA has become so political that nobody cares about it anymore.
It's not why people watch it.
I don't know if anybody I don't even know who's playing in the finals. I don't know anybody that's watching the NBA. LeBron has been a spokesman. I don't know him. I never met him. All I know is when he endorsed Hillary, I said, that's the greatest endorsement I've ever seen, because when he endorsed Hillary 4 years ago, she came up to his knee. I said, that is not the best-looking president I've ever seen. Okay, I thought that was the greatest. It was standing.
You mean standing? She came up to his knee.
They were standing. No, she was up to about his knee. I mean, literally, I've never seen anything. And I said, that's not good. But LeBron is a spokesman for the for the Democratic Party. It's and a very nasty spokesman. Because again,
they are angry.
So much for the black community, and people don't want to see that. And he's a great basketball player, but people don't want to see a guy that's that way. They don't want to see that. We have enough difficulty during the week. You don't want to sit down and watch a basketball game and then watch somebody that hates your guts, okay? And he's a hater. So I look at it, and I look at the NBA, and I can't watch it, and nobody's watching it, and their ratings are down the tubes. And I'm telling you, I haven't watched a basketball game like in a long time, and I have no interest in doing it. And you know what? That's a very sad commentary, because I'd love to, but I just don't have any interest in it anymore.
I don't.
And other things I do. I have great interest, but I don't have. They're hurting themselves very badly, and now I understand. Don't forget, Black Lives Matter. What was Black Lives Matter? Pigs in a blanket, fry 'em like bacon. The first time I ever heard of Black Lives Matter, I said, that's such a terrible term, because it's such a racist term. It's a term that sows division between blacks and whites and everybody else, and it's a very bad term for blacks. But they were very angry. It's a Marxist organization.
That's the key.
It's pigs in a blanket, fry them like bacon. Who are they referring to? New York City policemen. Okay? And I said, wow. And if you would have told me that was going to go mainstream, but it never did go mainstream.
Well, I don't know. You know, Mr. President, that's another thing. If you go back 9/11, just 19 years ago, not that long ago, this to me is a really sobering thing to realize. Not that long ago, the police, the firemen, first responders were the heroes in our country. Go back after 9/11, you had athletes carrying the American flag on the field.
Absolute heroes.
And now look what's happened in 15 to 19 years. Look what the left has done. Now we want to defund the police. Now the police are murdering pigs and so forth in 15 years. It's a sign of how successful these people have been. They used to be heroes. Everybody wanted to be with the police. Everybody wanted to join them on. You remember when George W. Bush threw out the first pitch at Yankee Stadium, Rudy is wearing the NYPD cap. Right. I mean, the cops were the toasts of town. They went into the buildings trying to save people. And it's to see what the Democrat Party has done to the police and their reputation.
Well, it's the liberal Democrats, radical liberal Democrats. Look, New York, Rudy was a great mayor. Rudy was our greatest mayor by far. He did things that were incredible and brought back New York. But it was easier in a way because the police had total respect. There was crime and everything, but the police were the police. When they dumped water a year ago on the policeman's head and he didn't do anything about it, like turn around and slug the guy, when they did that, I don't know if you remember New York's Finest. New York's Finest, these are great police. You know, I got endorsed by New York's Finest 1 month ago. And it's the first time in the history of New York City that they've endorsed a president.
A lot of police organizations have endorsed you now.
Everybody.
All over the country.
I don't think anybody. In fact, I asked Biden at the debate. And, of course, Chris Wallace cut it off. Didn't think it was appropriate. I said, name one police organization that endorsed you, Joe. Then I said, say law and order, Joe. Just law and order. He wouldn't do it.
Yeah, why wouldn't he do that? I mean, what's so hard for law and order? Law and order. How hard is that?
He wouldn't do it. Then I think he said law and order and safety. You know, I said, no, just law and order. Law and order means safety. You don't have to add the word safety. You know, that's a little net. Let me tell you, if he got in, this country is going to hell. This country is going to go to hell.
Well,
like you've never seen. And you'll end up in a depression, the likes of which you haven't seen since 1929.
Okay, now, people are asking, when you say that, why would they want this? Why would the Democrats want to take this country into a recession and have it be so bad economically? Why would they want to do that?
Your taxes are going up, your regulations. You know, I did, in the biggest tax cuts in history, bigger than Reagan's tax cuts, I did something that was more important. I cut regulations. That you couldn't build a highway in less than 10 years. I mean, it would take you 10 years to get approvals, and some much longer than that. One was 21 years, and they ended up not getting it. You couldn't get anything done. And I cut regulations to a level that now you can get things done or not done in 1 year. In other words, it may get disapproved because it's not safe or environmentally good or, you know, a lot of good reasons.
Right.
But I cut regulations from 19 years to 1 year. I mean, you wouldn't even believe it. People had to go through the same agency 14 different times.
Right, and once again, you have to be the one to tell the story.
I have to be the one, yeah. Nobody else seems to be able to tell it properly.
By the way, what's the status of the stimulus package now, the COVID stimulus package?
So I'd like to see it happen because it wasn't – look, a lot of people are being hurt because of China. It wasn't these people's fault. I would like to see a bigger stimulus package, frankly, than either the Democrats or the Republicans are offering. I'm going in the exact opposite now, okay? I mean, I'm telling you this. I'm telling you something I don't tell anybody else because maybe it helps or maybe it hurts negotiations. I would like to see a bigger package. I'd like to see money going to people. It was not their fault that China sent in the plague. It wasn't their fault. And China's going to pay a big price. You know, China was going to catch us in 2019. If you look back 15, 20 years ago, everybody said by 2019, China will beat us. I was beating them so badly. You know, we were doubling up. We were doing great until the plague came in, and we're still beating them badly. We'll still be. If you have a smart guy at top, you'll always beat him. You know, they're paying us billions and billions of dollars in tariffs. People don't realize when I made the deal, they're paying billions of dollars. I gave
no,
a lot
they
of
don't,
it to
and
farmers.
people don't know what that means. They don't know. They don't. How does that benefit them? That China's paying billions and billions and billions.
Billions of dollars. Well, they devalue their currency and they make it impossible to compete because they devalue their currency. You know, they're currency manipulators. And they devalue their currency, and therefore the dollar, they're using dollars of a different value, and it makes it very easy for them to compete, whereas we don't do that. We don't play games like that. Some people say we should. I don't have a viewpoint. But they devalue their currency, and they do all sorts of things. And what they do in the World Trade Organization, you know, we just won a case, $7.5 billion. First time we've won a case in a long time. I said, look, I'm going to get out of the World Trade Organization if I have to, just like I got out of the World Health. So we were paying $500 million a year in World Health. China's paying $39 million a year in World Health. I say, why are they paying? They're a bigger country. Why are they paying so much less? I asked these, you know, little stupid questions like that. Nobody could give me an answer. And yet they dominate the World Health, okay? They dominate World Health. And World Health, when they did this horrible thing to us, World Health did nothing whatsoever to help us. We're at $500 million a year, so I terminated the deal.
Well, they're in the tank. They're in the tank for the
Totally
shotguns.
in the tank.
I got to make an observation here,
about
sir.
World trade. By the way, same thing about world trade. Do you know in world trade, China is considered a developing nation? If you're a developing nation, you get tremendous advantages in the World Trade Organization.
You get your hand in the back pocket of the United States Treasury is what you get.
100%. And I ended that. I said, I'm not going to accept that they're a developing nation. I wouldn't say China's in love with me, by the way. China is dying. Here's what will happen, just a couple of predictions. If I win, we'll have a great deal with Iran within 1 month. They're dying to have me lose, but if I win...
A great deal on what?
Or no nuclear weapons.
No nuclear weapons.
Don't forget, look at what's happened to terrorism. Iran was a very wealthy nation, given $150 billion plus $1.8 billion in cash by Obama. A very wealthy nation. And now they're a very poor nation. And the terrorist organizations, I knock on wood as I say it because it's easier to start something, but they're not fighting like they used to. You know why they have no money? Because Iran is bust. Iran is bust because of me, because of sanctions and other things. And the whole picture of terror, you don't see the terror. Now, you know, I hate to say it on an important show like this, but I'll say it. You don't see the terror the way you used to see the terror. And they know if they do anything against us, they'll pay 1,000-fold problem. They're going to have 1,000-fold difference because they know now that we have things that we never had before. We have strength in weapons and things that we never had before. We never had it like we have it now.
Right.
And Iran knows that, and they've been put on notice. If you fuck around with us, if you do something bad to us, we are going to do things to you that have never been done before. And they understand that. But here's the thing. They're no longer rich, and they're not giving out hundreds of millions of dollars to Hamas and all these other groups that caused all the problem. Now, nobody brings it out. When was the last time you saw an attack?
I hear the frustration in your voice. I need to make an observation here for the American people. We've now been chatting with the president for an hour, and excuse me, an hour and 42 minutes, ladies and gentlemen. We have not had a commercial break. I would thus have to say the president's status with COVID-19 is pretty solid. The second thing that I would say is that not once during the hour and 42 minutes has the president been stumped. Has he not known what he wanted to say? Sir, you give the media in this country more access than any president ever. That's not even a contest. I think you've done something brilliant too when you have your little press gaggles out on your way to Marine One. The camera's on you, not them. You look like you're actually conducting an orchestra as you point to various members of the media when it's their turn. You're conducting a symphony, and everybody hears them screaming their questions at you like a bunch of 6-year-olds, and you answer them. Every question you're asked, you answer. You don't take a pass on anything. And you don't run away from anything. You don't hide from anything. And you'll meet them wherever they happen to be. If you're able to, you will. And I think people need to keep this in mind in terms of a chief executive who is accessible to the American people and wants the American people to know what he's doing and what he's thinking. There's no deception here. You have somebody, I don't want to embarrass you here, but you have somebody who thinks this country is great. You have somebody that loves this country perhaps in ways that many people in politics in the past don't, because their view of what America is a nation among many in the world. President Trump believes in America first, and for this he's hated. For this he's criticized. America first. There's nothing wrong with America first because America's the good guys. We are the good guys in the world. We are the solution to the world's problems. You have a man here who believes this, who believes your country holds the secret and holds the answer to life improving for citizens and human beings all over this planet. That's the objective that he has, including for people that live in this country. And can you imagine folks being hated and reviled for this? And yet he is. He's hated and reviled for loving America, for believing that America is good. His opponents think America's racist, sexist, bigoted, homophobic. Hell, we may as well still be a slave state as far as they're concerned. It's outrageous how they've poisoned the minds of our young people and got our young people hating their own country. Donald Trump has been your arrival on the scene has been providential, I believe, sir. I think you are the one person who has the ability to delay, stave off, stop the left from this inexorable march of theirs into changing this country and into things the American people that aren't paying attention have no idea what's in store for them if they win.
Well, Rush, I appreciate that very much. It's an honor.
I mean it bottom of my heart, sir.
I know you do. And this is the most important election that we've ever had. And I used to say 16. I don't even get into that anymore. That's over. This is the most important election that this country has ever had on so many different fronts. There's never been anything like it. We will go the way of failed nations all over Latin America, South America. We will go the way of failure like nobody's ever seen and on a scale like nobody's ever seen it. We've been taken advantage of by every nation in the world, including our friends. Our friends sometimes are worse than our enemies. We are, what I've done with NATO, we were taking care of virtually 100% of the military needs of Europe, guarding them from Russia. At the same time, they were taking advantage of us on trade, and in many ways they were worse than China. Europe was worse to us on trade than China was. I mean, and I changed so many things. But, then they say, oh, in Germany they don't like Trump as much as they like Obama. Well, of course they shouldn't like me because Germany was taking advantage of us like few countries took advantage of us.
What was Angela Merkel doing making a deal with Russia on that natural gas pipeline? You made that point at NATO. She should have been buying it from us.
Nobody even knew about that pipeline until I brought it up. I said, why are you paying Russia billions of dollars and we're protecting you? Tell me, what kind of a deal is this? We're protecting you, but you're giving Russia every month billions of dollars.
What did she say?
Energy. She smiles because she's a very smart one. She knows it. There's no way she can answer the question. I say, you don't have to answer the question, Angela. I like Angela. I get along with her, believe it or not, quite well. But, she's a player. And I said, Angela, don't answer the question because I don't want to embarrass you. There's no way she can answer the question because she gets away with it. That's why. She's a very smart, cunning person. But I caught him. Hey, Rush, I got them to pay $130 billion going to $410 billion more each year against Russia. Now, I get along with Putin. I like Putin. Putin possibly likes me, but I guarantee you one thing. He would have much rather seen crooked Hillary, and I guarantee he'd rather see Biden because Biden is slow. Biden is not equipped to be president. He never was at his best day, but he is not equipped now. It's no longer prime time, and not because he's 78. Because, frankly, at 78, as we said before, I know the sharpest people, they're 85, they're 80. It's not an age, now they're all saying, oh, it's 78. It's not because he's 78. There's something wrong with him, okay? And we can be nice about it.
They know that. That's why they're angling to get Kamala the gig.
Nobody wants to say it. But he can't. His thoughts are bad. Here's a guy. You talk about access to the press. I've never seen this before, and I've watched a lot, and I don't know how he gets away. You saw that NBC joke the other night where it's like a child, like you're asking a child questions. They don't talk to me that way. when you look at the questions that he gets, and then he reads the answers off a computer. Now, that means that these supposedly legitimate, but they're not legitimate. You know that better than I do. These news organizations are giving him questions. They're putting him in a computer. He's reading the answers off a computer. I never heard of that before. I've never done that. Can you imagine? Give me the questions, and I'm going to give you an answer off a computer. He's reading the answers off a computer a lot of times. And if he doesn't do that, he's all mixed up and befuddled. And Chris Wallace saved him 3 times the other night. I mean, he was getting ready to crack, and Chris Wallace, who was terrible, by the way, who I think really embarrassed himself, and Fox the other night, but Chris Wallace saved him. But can you imagine? You're getting the answers to questions, and you're getting the questions themselves, and you're reading the answers.
Well, they were doing that for Hillary, too. That's how they rigged the game for the Democrats. So look, I got another Biden soundbite here for you.
One thing I'll say, Hillary was much smarter. Hillary's a much smarter person. You know, I mean, look, Hillary was smart.
I don't agree with that, but, I mean, I
understand. But Hillary was, you know, Hillary didn't need to have answers read. You know, she could answer a question. Joe cannot answer a question. Joe, they can answer. They ask him a question, a very simple question, and he's reading it off a computer. He's saying, "Move the computer. You know, move it. Bring it closer. Bring it." He couldn't see it.
Yeah,
bring it
I know.
closer. On a question that anybody could answer. I mean, it's a very simple question. We can't have this. We can be nice, and maybe I'll lose because they'll say I'm not a nice person. I think I am a nice person. I help people. I like to help people, but we can't have this as our president. We really can't, Rush.
Here's another Biden soundbite for you to react to. This June 7th. Now, this is all the way back 2006. This is 14 years ago. Now, this tells you who the guy is. This is before any of whatever the aging problems that have befallen Vice President Biden. This is 2006, so 14 years ago, Manchester, New Hampshire.
In Delaware, the largest growth in population is Indian Americans moving from India. You cannot go to a 7-Eleven or a Dunkin' Donuts unless you have a slight Indian accent. And I'm not joking.
Now, you and I say that, and we are roasted and excoriated. He says that, oh, that's just old Joe.
You're right. We would be, but still, that's a much different man talking there than you see now.
Yeah, that's
different man.
Exactly right. Ballots. We got a dwindling time here. Virginia Beach, Virginia police just confirmed that undelivered mail was found. This story is it might be yesterday or the day before. Undelivered mail was found this afternoon in a construction dumpster in the Pungo section of Virginia Beach. The man who found it estimates 70 to 80 pounds of mail. USPS, the Postal Service, is investigating. And then we have a companion story. Mail-in ballots in Westmoreland County, Pennsylvania, have been delayed. Voters are confused and frustrated. 58,000 mail-in ballots. One county, sir, in one state. Extrapolate that to the entire state. 58,000 mail-in ballots, or as the Democrats see it, mail-in fraud. That's another thing that people wanted. What can be done about this?
Well, look, absentee ballots where you send in for your ballot. You know, I have an absentee ballot in Florida. You send in and you have to request it. And you
have to show ID to get one of those.
That's
you don't
okay.
for a mail-in.
It's not easy, but it's okay. You know, some people just can't do it, but they send it. That's called absentee. I call it a solicited ballot. I like that term better. You solicit, and they send it, and you fix it, and you send it back in. Okay, that's one thing. But they're sending out millions and millions of ballots. Are they sending them to all Democrats? Who are they sending them to? Where are they going? You know, et cetera, et cetera. This is going to be the second biggest political scandal in history. The first biggest is the Russian crap that we've been going through for 3.5 years. That's the biggest. To me, that's the biggest scandal, biggest political scandal in history.
It is.
What we've been going through. And now they delay it? You're telling me they delay it? That's going to be my first phone call, by the way.
Delay the announcement of whatever's... Yes.
I think it's just a disgrace if that's the case. It's a disgrace. And I'll say it to anybody who wants to say it. That's a disgrace. But the biggest scandal of all time is that this will be the second biggest scandal. Every day I'm seeing accounts of ballots that are thrown away. You saw the military ballots that were thrown away with my name on it the other day. Every day you see scandal about these millions of ballots that's being sent out. It's the single biggest risk in this election.
See, if this kind of stuff were happening to me, if I were a candidate, I'd have my people on this so fast. What are you doing about it?
We have many lawyers, and we've actually been winning many cases. How about where they have the ballots counted, and the ballots have to be in by November 3rd, Election Day, but they don't have to be counted for 2 weeks later? Well, that means you're never going to know who won the election. You know, it's going to be 2 weeks later. I want to see on November 3rd who won the election. So do you. You want to turn on your television like we have for the last 50 years and find out who won the election, right? You don't want to say, oh, gee, they have 2 weeks to count their ballots. And then what happens is all sorts of ballots start showing up miraculously. We're watching it very closely, and we're winning a lot of cases, Rush. You don't see it too much. We just won a big case in North Carolina. We just won a big case in Pennsylvania, I think. We're going to win. We're winning a lot of cases. Rhode Island won a big case where the ballots have to be done in a certain way. But the best way is to get up. Now, I tell you what, our people, your people, my people, Republican people, they get out, and they're all my people as far as everyone's my people. But Republicans tend to get out and vote. And that's what they should do. Early voting, but at a machine. Early voting or voting on November 3rd. And wait till you see the kind of love that's going to be expressed the day those polls open. The day those machines open, wait till you see. But the Democrats are sending in 80% of theirs by ballot. Now, one thing we've noticed from what I hear and from what I'm reading is a lot of the ballots, all they're doing is taking from people that would have voted in the first place. They're not a lot of new voters. You know, we have many more registered voters than we've picked up a lot of voters, the Republicans. I think you're going to see a very, very big explosion when those polls open up, Rush. But a large percentage, like 80% of the Republicans want to vote. They want to actually go to a poll and vote.
Yeah.
Whereas it's almost the opposite, for whatever reason, with the Democrats. I think you're going to see a very big explosion of voting.
Well, the Democrats need a little yellow bus showing up, picking them up, taking them to the polls, getting there on their own.
Right. And then they do the harvesting thing, which is terrible, which is illegal in many places, even with the laws that are being passed, where they go around and they start picking up everybody's votes. You know, we have a big enthusiasm gap. Our gap is so much more enthusiastic, like 35 points. There's never been a gap of enthusiasm between, let's say, me and him. That there is. Look at the boat shows. I mean, thousands of boats in the ocean and in the lakes. And
that's another thing. You know, that Gallup poll that shows 56% of the American people think they're better off now than they were 4 years ago, even in the midst of the pandemic.
Right.
There's another part of that poll when they ask people after who do you think's going to win and how do you think when they ask people, who do you think is actually going to be elected president? You are the
by a lot,
by an absolute lot. And that poll, that's never been wrong, by the way, sir. That question has never been wrong.
They say, who is your neighbor going to vote for?
Yeah, exactly.
Who
do you think your neighbor is going to vote? Exactly.
And they know their neighbors. No, because people don't want to get involved. I mean, even the signs. We have signs all over the place. We have signs in states, but they steal the signs. People steal the signs, and they're stealing. It's a well-known thing. They're stealing the signs. Our enthusiasm is far greater than it was 4 years ago, far greater, because they love the job we're doing. And they know this pandemic was a horrible thing that happened to us. It should have never been allowed to happen by China. China's going to pay a big price. And it's one of those things, but it happened. And we've done a great job on it. We got no credit. I'll tell you what, if this turns out to be right, that this medicine is going to make people better, that's a game changer like nobody's ever seen before, and it's going to happen. It's going to happen, Rish.
Mr. President, thank you. You've 2 hours here. I know you've got a jam-packed day left on your schedule.
That's true. True, but it's an honor. It's an honor to be with you for 2 hours. You have no idea. It's a great honor.
Well, it's great to have you here, and I know you got Brother Levin tonight. You're doing his show tonight, and that's going to be kick-ass. So we appreciate it, sir. We love you, and I meant everything I said today. You are the person standing in the way. You are the one that true American patriots have invested their hopes for their future and their kids' future in. You are the person they are depending on to stave off this attack on our country that is coming from inside. It's coming from inside our country as opposed to outside, although that's happening too.
It is largely. And you know what I say oftentimes when people say that? I have no choice. I have to do it. I have no choice. And that's what I'm doing. And
best of luck to you, sir. Thank you so much. And we are back. Greetings to you, music lovers, thrill seekers, conversationalists all across the fruited plain. Time now for the final busy broadcast hour of the EIB network today. Great to have you with us. A telephone number, and we're gonna get a lot of. I know a lot of you want to weigh in on what you just heard today. Telephone number is 800-282-2882. Folks, a couple things I want to do. You never get to do everything you intend to do when you have a rally or an appearance like this, because it goes areas where you don't plan on it going, and you have to adapt and so forth. Just not complaining. But the one I want to share with you some of the questions that we had from people that the president ended up answering without my having to ask them. But I want to acknowledge all of you. I was not exaggerating. We had more response in terms of people submitting questions at both our Facebook page and RushLimbaugh.com than we've ever had for anything. It was incredible. Millions and millions and millions and millions of responses. But what I want to send along a heartfelt thanks to so many of our sponsors today who were relishing the opportunity to be heard during the program because of the massive audience. And when we told them we were going to go commercial free, they understood completely. And they are just great people, and their businesses are fabulous people. And I wanted to mention, I can't mention all. Boll & Branch, Simply Safe, Level Select, which is the CBD company, LifeLock, and Norton 360. Some of the sponsors today that were Hillsdale College, that were relishing being heard in the program, understood Simply Safe Home Security. And so I really owe them a thank you for allowing. I mean, they had purchased the time, and we're going to make it good, obviously. But these are some of the finest business people in America. We are honored and flattered to have them as business partners. Boll & Branch, Level Select, which makes the CBD product that we advertise. Norton 360, LifeLock, Simply Safe Home Security, Boll & Branch, just incredible people to do business with. In addition to that, we have some audio sound bites unrelated to Joe Biden. But, I thought the president never does. He's never asked about Biden. Biden has never asked about Biden. Biden's never asked to explain himself. Biden has never asked to explain comments that he has made. He's never asked by moderators to justify things he said, but Trump gets it all the time. So I wanted to give the president a chance to respond to Biden, some of the things that he has said. And I was not just exaggerating on this. Everybody has been in a tizzy about Pelosi and the 25th Amendment and putting together a panel of people to try to get rid of President Trump. I honestly don't think that's what this is. Newt Gingrich sent out a tweet this morning, and it echoed what I think it's aimed at Biden. I have thought from the get-go this guy's not going to be president for very long. Now, I had assumed that Biden was agreeing with this. My mistake was assuming that Biden was in agreement with whoever these people running his campaign, whoever running this whole show. There's a bunch of people like the Wizard of Oz behind a curtain, and we know generically who they are. They're Silicon Valley people, they're big tech people, they're the Facebook and all that, they are Hollywood types, Wall Street type. We know who they are. But I was always under the impression that Biden was in on the game. And the game was he'll be at the top of the ticket. He'll be the guy that has the best chance of getting elected primarily, and he'll be the best guy to hold on to the black vote for the Democrats, as he demonstrated South Carolina primary with James Clyburn, a congressional black Caucasians. But then, shortly after, if he wins, heaven forbid, if he wins, that Biden would willingly step aside and make way for Kamala Harris. Now, I also believe, should I say believed, I also believe that Kamala Harris has been told, hey, babe, you may be sworn in, but you are not actually going to be the one who holds the power. And she may have said, okay, fine, but if these people think they're going to make her president and she's going to not accept it, I mean, if they think that she is going to let them run things, then they've got another thing coming. I don't think, but where I have been wrong, I was under the impression that Biden was a partner in this. Apparently, he's not. Apparently, they're going to have to find a way to get rid of him shortly after he's inaugurated, if, heaven forbid, he wins. And that's what Pelosi is doing here with this 25th Amendment stuff. As Newt tweeted, Pelosi is talking about the 25th Amendment replacing an incapacitated president as a trial run for replacing Biden with Kamala Harris next spring if they win. She can have a San Francisco radical as president, meaning Pelosi can. Feinstein also from San Francisco as his Governor Newsom. Anyway, Newt says the target is Biden, not Trump. I think that's true. I think that's right on the money. And I think what I learned is that Biden is not a cooperative player in all of this. Now, the fact that she's on the ticket, this is another thing. You know, folks, she got out, as I was discussing with the president, she got out of the race, the Democrat primary, before a single vote had been cast. She wasn't going to get a number of votes that would even register on the Richter scale. And yet she may end up being, I hate saying this, she may end up being president. She didn't get a single vote. That tells me they want, when this is all said and done, their objective, as we know, is to get somebody radical left as radical left as they can in the White House, knowing full well they can't do that by getting that person elected. This country is not going to elect knowingly a radical left socialist / communist like Kamala Harris. So you run plugs. You run him and you let him run around saying, I'm not one of these radical leftists. I'm not some socialist. Do I look like a socialist? The American people are made safe and secure. No, he's not one of those guys. But it ends up with her being there. They cannot get somebody like Kamala Harris in the Oval Office legitimately. So this is how they are playing. Grab soundbite number 11. This is Pelosi talking about that this week. She's, let's see, her weekly press conference. Those are normally on Thursday, but I guess she did it today. And here is her comment.
This is not about President Trump. He will face the judgment of the voters. But he shows the need for us to create a process for future presidents. The 25th Amendment creates a path for preserving stability if a president suffers a crippling physical or mental problem. A president's fitness for office must be determined by science and facts. This legislation applies to future presidents, but we are reminded of the necessity of action by the health of the current president.
I think she's being honest to a degree. By the way, this doesn't have a prayer of working on Trump. He's not suffering a disability. Donald Trump does not have a disability. There's no way the 25th Amendment works. But with plugs, With Joe Biden, it's a different ballgame. He has, and it may be demonstrable as time goes on, he has a disability. And so we will take her at her word on this. Now, grab soundbite number 10. I want to play one more Biden soundbite. I'm assuming that we have many of you who were here with the president still tuning in. One of the objectives today was to share with millions and millions of you are not Republicans. Millions and millions of you are independents, moderates, Democrats. And millions and millions of you may have been tuning in today for the first time. And one of the things we always try to do here is seriously inform people. The objective is to keep people informed. Joe Biden is actually the guy who should have been held legally accountable for his actions in Ukraine, not President Trump. President Trump was impeached over a phone call to the president of Ukraine, and there was no impeachable offense whatsoever. But on the theory that many of you do not know who Joe Biden really is, because the media does not report on Joe Biden as he really is, I want to play for you. We've cited this video. We've talked about it a lot. This is January 23rd, 2018, at the Council on Foreign Relations. It's a David Rockefeller organization in New York. And people like Barbara Walters and some highfalutin media people are members to give it credibility and so forth. And Biden appeared there, January 23rd, 2018, to brag about how he threatened a Ukrainian prosecutor who was investigating his son. And he threatened the Ukrainian government into getting rid of the prosecutor. And worse than that, he threatened to withhold $1 billion in American aid if they didn't get rid of this prosecutor and if they didn't drop the case against his son. Now, whatever you think Trump did on a phone call with the Ukrainian president, it doesn't compare to this. This is genuine criminality, corruption, and he's admitting to it. In 2018. Why is he admitting to it? Because he knows nobody's ever going to try to hold him accountable. The media is not going to try to hold him accountable. He's Joe Biden. He's a Democrat. He's Biden, Obama's vice president. But here is what he said.
I went over, I guess, the 12th, 13th time to Kyiv, and I was supposed to announce that there was another $1 billion loan guarantee. And I had gotten a commitment from Poroshenko and from Yatsenyuk that they would take action against the state prosecutor, and they didn't. I said, no, I'm not going to, or we're not going to give you the $1 billion. They said, you have no authority. You're not the president. The president said. I said, call him. I said, I'm telling you, you're not getting $1 billion. I said, you're not getting $1 billion. I'm going to be leaving here. And I think it was, 6 hours? I said, I'm leaving in 6 hours. If the prosecutor's not fired, you're not getting the money. Well, son of a bitch.
Yeah, there they are, all left. Son of a bitch, son of a bitch. Well, guess what? They fired the prosecutor, and the investigation of my son stopped. And he's there bragging about this to fellow members of the Council on Foreign Relations. And he says, now they said, you have no authority, you're not the president. I said, call him. This is Biden. I said, call it. Call Obama. This implicates Obama. Biden implicated Obama in this criminality, which is exactly what this is. So those of you who are, when I say ignorant, I don't mean it in an insulting way. Ignorant means you just don't know. If you don't know about Joe Biden and who he really is, if you've bought this story that Trump should have been impeached over this whistleblower BS over a phone call with the Ukrainian president, here is Biden admitting to extortion. Biden is admitting to threatening the government of Ukraine with withhold $1 billion in aid with Obama's sanction if they didn't fire the prosecutor getting close to nailing Biden's son. This would be Hunter. And they got rid of the prosecutor. The prosecutor's fired inside of 6 hours. and Biden's bragging about it. Let's take a brief break. We'll come back and continue right after this.
Now,
How are you? Welcome back. Great to have you with us. Folks, really, in a lot of places around the country, we are either at or nearing the last day to register to vote in your state. There really is no substitute. People say, what can I do? Meaning beyond voting. Make sure you vote is number one. You'd be amazed. The Trump people, they do extensive surveys of the people that show up at these rallies. And I don't have the latest analysis right in front of me, but I'm going to get close. I'll recreate my memory. You would not believe the makeup of people at recent Trump rallies at these hangars. One of the most stunning revelations is that at any given rally, 30% of the people this year have never voted. 30% have never voted. An extraordinary percentage of the people that show up are Democrats. It would boggle your mind. And so you have to assume that these people who are showing up who've never voted are going to register and vote, and that it's going to make a huge difference. These people are largely not being found by pollsters, but it's a really revealing set of statistics about the people who show up. The point is there are more people who don't vote than you would believe. You who vote regularly assume that a vast majority do, but and leading up to elections, we always hear about these rock the vote, get out the vote, all these youth vote programs, which are designed to use in conjunction with MTV or other outfits, designed to turn out the vote from 18 to 24. And we're told every election that demographic is going to change the outcome. And you know what happens? Hardly any of them ever show up to vote. They brag about it, they talk about it, but on election day, they don't show up. You would be amazed at the percentage of Americans who are not registered and who don't vote. So, just voting, you don't have any idea how impactful it is. Showing up on election day. I realize many of you are scared that you think there are going to be forces arrayed, violent forces arrayed to intimidate you into leaving before you vote. But I'm telling you, there's no substitute for showing up on election day and voting, because it skews the exit polls, it skews the turnout data away from the way the left wants to report it. I just cannot emphasize enough how important voting is. And I'm harping on this because people say, what else can I do? As though there's something that's more important. There isn't anything more important than that. Other than maybe getting everybody to go out and vote too. Become a nag about voting. Ask everybody if they've registered, and then don't believe them when they tell you they have. Don't believe them and keep harping on them. You want something else to do? How about turn a Democrat? How about Operation Turn a Democrat? How about if every one of you try to convince a Democrat that you know to vote Trump? If a sizable number of people were able to do you realize what kind of impact that would have? Operation Turn a Democrat. I know you might think Russia's not possible. These people are nuts. These people are insane. I know. I'm well aware of how some of them don't seem to be, shall we say, solidly attached to the ground. But I'm telling you, there is a root to them in the case of some of them. Some of them are impossible, admittedly. Some of them you're never going to convince to change their minds. But I'm going to tell you, I think there are a lot of people who do not know what this election is really about. They do not know what's at stake. They think it's traditional Democrats versus Republicans. The Republicans don't care about people. The Republicans are racist and bigots. and for the rich. And the Democrats love the little guy. Democrats like the small fry. Democrats care about people. It's not about that, folks. That's not true anymore anyway. It's the Democrats that don't care about the little guy. But that's not what the election's about. What the election about is even simpler than that. And it's scarier than that. And I, El Rushbo, will explain to you what it is. We get back from this obscene profit timeout here at the bottom. No trick whatsoever. Rush4Hillsdale.com. Okay, back to the phones. No, I guess to the phones. We haven't gone to the phones yet. So we're going to start Saratoga Springs, New York. This is Dan. Great to have you with us, sir. Hello.
Hi, Rush. It's very good to speak to you. I hope everything is well with you.
Thank you, sir. It is. I appreciate that.
Just wanted to let you know you're speaking to an upstate New York Democrat right now.
Okay.
Be not afraid, because...
oh, no.
I heard what you said a minute ago about, Democrats are they're crazy people. And I'm not crazy, although I am a carrier.
No, upstate Democrats are a different breed.
I just want to let you know that there is no, as an upstate New York Democrat, there is no way in hell I will vote for anybody in office that's running under the Democratic Party this year.
See what I tell you, upstate Democrats are different in New York.
There's no way in hell. I don't vote. I never have voted as a Democrat. I've never voted as a Republican. I've always voted as an American. And the only way to preserve America, in my eyes, is to vote for our president, Donald Trump.
Well, that's great to hear. Why do you have that attitude about him when most Democrats, showing a picture of Trump's like showing Dracula the cross.
Oh, no. Again, you're talking about Democrats. I just happen to be a registered Democrat. I'm an American first. And as an American, there is nobody else that's running for president. I mean, that you have Joe Biden, who can't put together 3 words, and you have Kamala Harris. And I don't, if you looked at her the other night on the debate stage, she come off as a pompous windbag, and she really just looked evil to me. She just come across as an evil person. And
well, wait a minute. Let me jump in there, because when you call somebody evil, I think you lose the audience. What you want to convey is that she was instead, and this is, of course, my opinion, she was very condescending. She came across as having an opinion of herself that is better than everyone else. She was snarky. She was, what was the word that I used to describe her? I'm having a mental block. I had a bunch of people sending me notes about it that night. Snarky is not, but it's close to that. She was just came across as unlikable and condescending and arrogant. She typical liberal, just classical liberal, smarter than you, not worth her time to even be in the same room with you, just very, very uppity in her own ways. Now, she may be evil ideologically. I wouldn't disagree with that. I actually think that she is, in a sense. Anyway, Dan, I appreciate the call. Ron in Newton, Connecticut, you're next on the EIB network. Hello.
Hey, Rush. What's going on? I hope you feel well.
Thank you, sir.
And, I just wanted to say I listened to the whole show with the president, and my God, he got me fired up. Oh, my God, he got me fired up, because you don't get nothing like that from Joe Biden. He's like a snail, a slug. The president just went through COVID. He's on fire. He's great. Oh, my God, I hope he gets back in. But my point is, if these Democrats love their states and their cities so much, why are they leaving? I live in Connecticut, and all I see is New York plates. Everybody's leaving. My buddy lives in Montana. He gets the California plates. Stay in your states. Straighten them out. You know what I mean? I know the president can, because, the Democrat states and cities are so messed up, I mean, it's it's just outstanding because they just leave. And what are they going to do? Are they going to come to my state and screw up my state now?
Yes, exactly. That's what they're going to do. They're going to come and they're going to bring their politics that screwed up the state they're leaving, and they're going to corrupt your state. Yes, exactly right. I found out there's a story here that's fascinating. A lot of liberal Democrats, for example, work at Microsoft. And many liberal Democrats are leaving high-tax states where Microsoft has offices where these people work. You know what Microsoft is doing? Cutting their pay. Microsoft is reducing their salaries commensurate with the tax savings they will find when they get to their new states. I'm not making it up. Not making it up. This cruel, it is punishment. You think you're going to leave us and do better financially? Well, watch this. And so their pay, their salary, whatever it's called, is being cut so that the tax cut at their new state will not be seen as additional discretionary income or take-home pay, if you will. I mean, that's the low of the low. That's just, you talk about get even with themism. Ron, thank you much for the call. I have a piece here, and I meant to run this one by the president, but I didn't get a chance. It's at the website AmericanGreatness.com. It's a piece by Adam Mill, and it's entitled, Why Doesn't It Feel Like Biden is Winning? And I found it's an excellent piece led by an excellent question. We have, every day, folks, we have brand new polls which show it getting even worse for President Trump, so bad that he may as well not even show up. That's how badly they are portraying how bad it is for Trump in these polls. Like the latest one I saw, Charlie Cook of the now famous Cook Report thinks the Democrats could win 15 more seats in the House, that the Democrats are going to win the Senate, that Trump is now down by 20 points somewhere, some such thing. So this guy's question is, well, if all of that is true, why doesn't it feel like Biden is winning? Now here, try this poll quote, folks. This is a brilliant question. If we had no polls, if we had no betting markets, if we had no professional pontificators, if we had no professional pundits out there, particularly on the left, what outcome would we predict from the things we can observe with our own eyes and ears in the presidential race? Excellent question. If there were no polls, who would you think is winning? If there were no betting markets, which is just another form of a poll, who would you think is winning? If there were no professional pundits out there amplifying what the polls are saying, who would you think is winning, and on what basis? Another poll quote. While the public consumes a steady diet of polls commissioned by the same news organizations that so obviously want to wish a Trump defeat into reality, we know that the campaigns conduct their own internal or secret polling. Thus, we should take note when the actions of the campaign don't match the numbers in the polls. For example, do you know that Trump has canceled a bunch of ad buys in battleground states he needs to win? He said, well, why would he do that? Why is Trump canceling a bunch of buys in states he needs to win? Well, obviously, Russia's giving up. He knows it's over, and he's not going to throw the money down. What do you mean not going to throw the money down the tubes? It's not his money. It's the campaign's money. He doesn't get to convert it to his own money. What do you mean? Could it also be that their own polls show that he's doing just fine? Why doesn't it feel like Biden is winning? On Tuesday, November 8th, 2016, 7 p.m., I entered an Uber to travel to a Chicago area stand-up comedy club in search of escape from the inevitable. The New York Times set Clinton's percentage chance at victory in the high 90s. The driver of my Uber had his radio tuned to a panel of NPR election experts assembled to announce the results as they came in. Most of the panel members chirped enthusiastically about Clinton's inevitable victory. But one Clinton supporter spoke in hushed tones regarding the results from a particular county in Florida. I could hear it in his voice. My news sources still showed a likely Clinton victory, but this expert's voice told the truth. The polls were wrong. The media is actively sheltering plugs Biden. If a Biden victory were indeed inevitable, would we see such vigorous coordination by the media to shelter and prop him up? As I recently noted, even a casual observer could see the media seem to be tipping off Biden on the already softball questions it intended to ask. It's also clear the moderator at the first debate frequently interfered to protect Biden from questions about his son's corruption, questions about Biden's Supreme Court nominees, questions about Biden's position on phasing out private insurance, questions on Biden's specific criticism of Trump's COVID-19 policies, and the reasons for Biden's law enforcement support deficit. It's a good question. Why doesn't it feel like Biden is winning? Got to take a break. Be right back. Simply Safe, USA.com. By the way, something I've been meaning to mention for a couple of weeks now when the debate started. A good friend of mine, Roger Ailes, is in one way largely responsible for the debate concept, particularly debate rehearsal, debate training. Ailes really prepared George H.W. Bush, and Richard Nixon and Reagan for their debates. And there is a documentary that is available now called Man in the Arena. And you can get it, maninthearena.com, on iTunes and Amazon. You can purchase it or rent it. I, my friends, am in it. President Trump is in this. It was Ailes responsible for the Dukakis Beetle Bailey helmet in the tank ad, for example. It was Ailes that came up with Reagan's winning line opposite Mondale, meaning I'm not going to hold my opponent's relative youth against him. Anyway, John Voight is the narrator of Man in the Arena. And Roger Ailes founded Fox News. He was a man behind the camera, in addition to Man in the Arena. A lot of people didn't know him per se. This is how you get to know the person who did invent Fox. Executive produced my TV show at the same time. maninthearena.com, maninthearena.com, and iTunes and Amazon. That's it, folks. We are out of time. Thank you so much for being with us today. Historic, busy day on the EIB network. I hope you have a great weekend, and we plan on being right back here on Monday. So we will see you then.